Alright, you and I are about to dive into the story of a guy who basically beat life itself. Look at this. A simple ring from his inventory is worth billions in the real world, and he can open it whenever he wants. He pulls out double S-tier gear like it is nothing, including a literal invisibility cloak. He is a total legend for being the absolute strongest and the only player to ever reach the max level. After 22 years inside that crazy world, he single-handedly captured the Succubus Castle, which entire guilds failed to take, and completely enslaved its former owner. It all started on a random day when over 1 million people playing Eternal World vanished. At that exact moment, real monsters appeared. The President of the United States actually thought they were aliens. Humanity was totally helpless. But then, those missing players suddenly started returning to Earth. Talk about a crazy comeback. It is like a dad returning after years of going out to get milk. Turns out they were trapped inside a role-playing game where they had to level up to survive. 1 month on Earth equaled a full year in there. And the ones returning now, they had died in the game. By the second month, a new wave of players returned, representing 2 years of survival. Then, by month 3, players with 3 years of experience came back. The gap just kept growing wider and wider. Soon, players with 6 and 8 years of experience returned. But as they got stronger, the monsters did too. Suddenly, a terrifying level 150 monster named Drain appeared on Earth. The beast looked around in absolute panic as a lone man slowly walked toward him. The monster tried to attack, but it was already over. One single blow, and the entire area went up in a massive explosion. That is because our 22-year veteran had finally returned, the legendary masked monarch. He is the beast who wiped out every single demon lord and conquered the Demon King's castle all on his own. But watch closely, because here is where everything falls apart. It was actually just an illusion. The Demon King mocked him for falling for it. Even though he was the strongest human, he was completely outplayed. The Demon King admitted our hero completely blew past his expectations, laughing about how much fun they would have next time. The broken monarch begged for death, but he was just left there, completely alone. But as that dark realm started collapsing, the game system forced him back to Earth simply because he had initiated an attack on the final boss room. He got to keep his massive inventory as a reward, meaning he is the only player to return alive, with all his overpowered gear intact. Now back on Earth, the strongest man alive heads straight to an old apartment and rings the bell. Back in that hellish game, he always teamed up with his little brother, Yoon Seong-min. But during a raid on a level 81 boss, Bigan, his brother was brutally slaughtered right in front of his eyes. But now, the door opens, and his brother is actually standing there alive. Song-min immediately recognizes him, assuming he returned because the legendary masked monarch finally cleared the final stage of the game. At least, that is the lie the guild leaders are spreading to the public. But he knows the truth. He did not win, he was just played by the Demon King. Now, even high-tier dungeons and deadlier monsters are spawning in reality. Out of nowhere, Sung-min asks his brother Sun Huk about his level. Is he trying to recruit him into his new guild, or something? But the moment he hears the name of the Balhai Guild, his blood runs cold. They were a notorious group of high-level players who actively hunted and enslaved weaker players in the game. Hugh himself was the one who personally exterminated them back in that world. Since Sin seems proud to be a member, Hugh strictly orders him to quit immediately. Trash belongs in the trash, after all. The kid is completely baffled, asking how he can be so insanely arrogant. Little does he know, his brother is at the absolute max level, while the kid still thinks the top player is only level 22. But how is that even possible? Well, he is the real masked monarch. He literally stopped gaining experience after hitting level 300. The kid finally puts the pieces together, realizing Hugh was the demon who wiped out that evil guild. Sung-min asks how the inventory is working, and our hero reveals it was his clear reward. Yeah, he took down the final boss, but there is a catch. I know what you were thinking, but check this out. He decides to give his brother a massive power-up and asks for his level. With a sly smirk, he wonders what kind of gear to hand over. Sung-min is stunned as his sibling's hand literally vanishes into a dimensional storage rift. He pulls out the Swords of Fury, a weapon boasting an insane attack power of up to 800. The kid is absolutely losing his mind with joy, but his excitement instantly dies when he realizes he cannot equip it. The blade requires a strength stat of 150, and he is short by 32 points. No problem. Hugh reaches back into the void and grabs gear that boosts stats. Sang-min is totally blown away by this godlike flex, bowing down in absolute gratitude. Meanwhile, over in a quiet village in Japan, a mysterious man is massaging his temples. He applies steady pressure as a set of crystal balls begin to glow with an intense, blinding light. Sensing something, he asks if anyone has arrived yet. A voice echoes from the crystal, noting the others are late. prompting the man to ask if those slackers have ever actually been on time. The voice then asks if this emergency meeting is about that specific rumor, which he confirms. The legendary masked monarch is back. The news instantly silences the voice. A woman's voice then remarks that it was bound to happen eventually, immediately asking if they have tracked his current location. After a brief pause, he reveals the location is South Korea. Cut to the local player registration office, where Sang-Huk is officially signing up, though he wonders if this is even worth celebrating. Sang-min explains they do not have a choice. Failing to register with the government's player department can lead to serious legal trouble. As they walk, the masked guy spots other returned players roaming around. He asks why everyone is gearless, forcing Sang-Huk to explain a basic fact he completely forgot about the transition to Earth. He explains that all these weapons are actually crafted right here on Earth. The masked guy realizes they are built so they do not break mid-battle. Exactly. Earth does not have infinite durability, so crafters and mages have to team up to forge everything. Unfortunately, Sang-mi admits that even their best gear is complete garbage compared to what they had in the game. Sang-Hyuk smiles, saying he has a quick favor to ask. He wants to visit an old acquaintance and asks his brother to tag along with him. The brothers soon arrive outside a massive building called the Twilight Workshop. Sang-min is visibly shaking, nervously asking if his brother genuinely knows the legendary figure inside. Even our hero is stunned by how huge the place is. The younger brother asks if they are really friends, which makes Sang-Hyuk wonder if the blacksmith is actually that famous on Earth. Sang-min explains that literally every player knows the Twilight Blacksmith. Even though he hated fighting, he was still chosen to join the elite 400-man vanguard during the final castle assault. His workshop is the ultimate destination where top players from across the globe order custom gear. Sang-min admits it is his absolute dream to get a weapon forged by him. With a grin, the masked guy tells him to just go ahead and order whatever he wants, making the kid ecstatic. They finally step inside the shop, where a receptionist warmly asks how she can assist them. Sang-Hyu tells her he is here to see Mr. Lee Chul-woo. She asks if they have an appointment, and when they say no, she politely explains that meetings are strictly reservation only. Sang-min whispers, asking if they are really close, since they are clearly getting zero special treatment. Ignoring him, Sang-Hu asks where the forge is, learning the master is currently deep in his workshop. He basically ignores her and runs straight in. And that is where we leave it for now. Trust me, you are going to want to see what happens when they finally meet. Let's dive into a crazy story. He heads straight to the basement despite the lady's warnings, finding a massive workshop packed with epic weapons, armor, and sharp blades, where a blacksmith is hard at work on another masterpiece. Even though he is not a fighter, this level 98 blacksmith is incredibly careful with his prep. Suddenly, Chul-woo spins around when someone calls out his name. He is completely shocked to see Sang-Huk standing right there. The panicked receptionist finally catches up, desperately yelling that the boy is not allowed in here. Sang-Huk casually asks the blacksmith to give the pretty receptionist a nice bonus for helping him find the workshop. The flustered woman quickly apologizes, claiming the boy just barged in without warning. But Chul-woo shrugs and promises her a bonus check at the end of the month, leaving her totally confused. He asks if she does not want it, and she quickly bows in thanks. Chul-woo grumbles that the masked guy is still causing trouble, but Sang-Huk just asks if he is not glad to see him. The giant blacksmith snaps back, reminding him how his peaceful life got ruined when he was dragged to that hellish place. Then, Sang-Huk pulls out a legendary hammer. Shocked, the blacksmith demands to know how he got it, since bringing items back from the eternal world should be completely impossible. With a smug smile, Sang-Huk reveals he brought back his entire inventory inside his dimensional pocket as a special reward for clearing the ultimate final mission. Chul-woo is thrilled to see his hammer again, but finds it weird that the masked guy kept it. Sang-Huk simply smiles and says the weapon belongs to him now, since the blacksmith abandoned it when he got eliminated from the game. Sang-Huk then teases that he might return it for the sake of their old friendship, but only if the blacksmith does him a quick favor. Left with no choice, he agrees to help. Chul-woo asks if they missed the Do Not Disturb sign on the door, telling the Red Knight to leave. But instead of replying, a heavy sack is tossed right onto his table. Inside are glowing, legendary materials that instantly catch his eye. Sang-Huk brought him cosmic steel, brilliant black ore, and the horn of Dinard, all rare S-rank items. How did he even get these? Now, watch closely here. The masked monarch wants him to craft a custom item. When asked what he has in mind, he smiles and makes a simple request to mask. Sang-Huk looks around, noting that this giant shop used to be a tiny workspace. He admits he never expected it to grow this massive, or that the blacksmith had such an elegant hobby. Chul-woo invites them to sit down and join him. Sang-min politely introduces himself, and the giant blacksmith chuckles, saying the kid seems nice, unlike a certain annoying teammate. Playing along, Sang-huk jokes that, if he keeps getting attitude, he is leaving. But Chol-woo gets serious, demanding to know if he truly cleared every single mission in the Eternal World. Our hero nods, explaining that for 2 years, he fought and defeated every demon lord alone before finally slaying Baal, only to realize that the entire victory was nothing but a massive illusion. Sang-huk is puzzled by his friend's reaction. Chol-woo laughs, teasing that it is pretty disappointing the legendary masked monarch could not even tell the difference between illusion and reality. Even so, Sang-min is just glad his brother returned alive. Hearing about the epic final mission bonus, Chol-woo goes silent for a moment before asking what favor they need. Sang-huk says it is simple. Since he is going to be a regular customer, he wants priority on all his orders. Annoyed by his confidence, Chol-woo reluctantly agrees. Sang-huk also wants to gift an item to his brother without anyone recognizing it. The master blacksmith immediately understands he needs a custom redesign, which is an incredibly easy task. He asks for his hammer to get to work, and the masked warrior casually tosses it over. Chol-woo snaps that he should not treat a divine tool so recklessly, but Sang-huk just laughs. I know what you were thinking, how can he use it if he is not level 100 yet? Well, the blacksmith points out that exact problem to him. Of course, Sang-huk has a major cheat code. He pulls out high-tier items, slamming a Kebro's gauntlet with plus 50 points, a Bin gemstone with plus 20, and Aaron's bracelet with plus 50 points. Chol-woo still complains that he took way too long to show his hand. Meanwhile, Sang-min wonders about the tool, and his brother explains it is the legendary Hammer of Planar. It is the absolute peak of blacksmithing tools with incredible special stats, but it requires the wielder to have strength and health stats over 200 points. Right after explaining, Sang-huk excuses himself to the restroom. Left behind, Chol-woo admits he hates to say it, but the guy is honestly incredible. Sang-min asks if he is talking about the legendary masked monarch he only heard stories of. Knowing the kid got eliminated in year 12, Chol-woo says he has no idea. Smiling, the blacksmith says the monarch was unstoppable in the Eternal World, turning impossible odds into victory just by showing up, like the time he single-handedly crushed the evil dragon, Nermis. That beast devoured 3 entire armies, but they still cleared the raid that 4 top guilds failed to beat. The monarch was famous for completing impossible tasks like that. Still, remembering how the jerk dragged him into a 400-member suicide squad keeps him annoyed. Sang-min thinks he hates his brother, but the blacksmith admits he simply cannot. Sang-huk returns, holding up the iconic Mask of Chaos, revealing his friend crafted it. Chol-woo proudly agrees, calling it his greatest masterpiece. The two share a knowing, smirk-filled glance, like the perfect criminal partners they are. Suddenly, Sang-huk asks if there are any cool castles in Seoul. Chol-woo immediately catches on, but asks to make sure if he is really suggesting what he thinks. Sang-huk announces that since he is back, it is time to move, leaving them stunned. He calmly states that this heavily guarded fortress is going to be his new home. Tons of elite guards patrol every corner as the two brothers stroll right past them. Sang-huk remarks that the tight security makes sense since his brother is still clueless. Sang-min explains that if monsters breach the perimeter, a chaotic overflow happens, which is why everyone is so paranoid. When a guard stops them, Sang-min tries to retreat, but his brother remains completely unfazed. He casually asks if this was once the National Museum of Korea. Back at the shop, his talk about moving makes Chol-woo realize the insane truth. He is planning to conquer a monster fortress for himself. Sang-min is left totally lost, begging for an explanation. The blacksmith explains that in the Eternal World, Sang-huk claimed a vampire queen's palace as his personal house. Stunned, the kid asks if that is true, but it gets better. Chol-woo adds that he kept the vampire queen alive as a servant and renamed the place Mask Castle. Sang-huk interrupts, asking again if there are any castles left in Seoul. The blacksmith sighs but confirms there is one called the Night Witch's Castle. Sang-huk thinks it sounds perfect, featuring scenic mountains behind, a river up front, and it is even close to the station. While it sounds nice, Sang-min worries about their current home. The masked monarch comforts him, promising they will never sell it since it is the precious legacy their mother left behind. Those sweet words put his brother's mind at ease. Sang-huk explains that because of his reputation, their old house is a constant target for bloodthirsty monsters and greedy rival players searching for his legendary gear. Until they are strong enough to ignore those threats, they must relocate. All the younger brother can do is nod, as the masked warrior asks if he is ready. And trust me, you and I are about to watch them slip past security perfectly, thanks to the Red Warrior's ultimate invisibility cloak. Alright, you and I are about to dive into the epic journey of the legendary masked monarch. As guards patrol on high alert, Sang Hyuk assures his brother, Sang Min, that his stealth cloak makes them completely invisible. They have nothing to fear. A guard spots movement, but it is just a clueless teammate who forgot his own shift. Thanks to that distraction, our intruders slip right past them completely unnoticed. Sang Min is blown away by the stealth tech, but Sang Hyuk warns him to stay focused. He plans to bypass the next guard post first. Hyped up, the younger brother begs for his own cloak, making the masked monarch wonder if he is up to no good. Quickly denying it, Sang Min looks up and spots their destination, the eerie castle of the Night Witch. This fortress remains undefeated, leading him to believe returned players have grown weak. He warns his brother that the castle is crawling with succubi and incubi, making it a nightmare to invade due to their deadly psychic attacks. Now, here's the crazy part we need to think about. Powerful mages returned, but without rare crafting materials. Making protective gear is impossible. Even the strongest players are left completely defenseless. Crafting top-tier gear requires rare mana stones. But Sang Min reveals a massive secret. A mountain suddenly erupted right in the middle of London, and rumors say a massive mana stone mine was just discovered inside it. Suddenly, a massive obstacle stops them. The sheer castle walls are impossible to scale on foot. Wasting no time, the masked monarch summons his dimensional inventory. He searches for the perfect tool and equips a legendary gear piece. A blinding flash of light forces Sang Min to shield his eyes, and when the glare fades, he is left completely speechless. Stunned, he asks if that is a legendary dragon armor set. Sang Hyuk grabs him tightly, tells him to hang on, and launches them straight into the sky, soaring over the walls. You and I can probably guess how terrified his brother is right now. But Sang Hyuk is just warming up. He sticks the landing with a fierce look, ready for action. He is eager to test the local monsters. Meanwhile, a shadowy figure watches from a window. Smiling wickedly, she anticipates her prey, whispering that their guests have finally arrived. Sang Hyuk warns that the sweet scent is the Night Witch's mind-controlling pollen, and breathing it in means instant doom. Terrified, Sang Min asks if he heard a voice, already falling under its hypnotic spell. A glowing mist creeps forward, invading his senses and clouding his mind. Just as he loses control, Sang Hyuk delivers a sharp slap to his face, snapping him out of it and telling him to pull himself together. They press deeper into the castle. Sang Min anxiously asks if they should really be walking around so casually, but his older brother tells him to relax. Sang Hyuk brags that these weak demons are nothing, and he could easily wipe out an entire army of them. He hands over a defensive ring, explaining it protects the wearer's mind against any mental magic. Clueless to the danger, Sang Min asks if the ring keeps monsters away. But a sultry voice behind him whispers otherwise, making him spin around in sheer terror. Stunning succubi surround him, claiming they have waited so long for his arrival. Flustered, he blushes as they tease him, asking if all human warriors are this handsome. A gorgeous blonde even offers him a night of pure pleasure. The horned demons crowd around, offering to soothe his exhaustion. As they embrace him, he loses his focus and breathes in another deep, intoxicating draft of their mental mist. Suddenly, the masked monarch steps in, threatening to destroy them for making the air reek. His terrifying aura sends the succubi running for their lives, leaving a deeply embarrassed Sang Min sitting on the floor. Sang Hyuk yells in his ear, breaking the deep trance. The boy collapses, completely disoriented. Annoyed, his older brother tells him to keep his head in the game. They are only low-tier demons, making the kid feel pretty pathetic. But hey, you and I know this journey is just starting, and Sang Hyuk reminds him they have got this. Stick with me here, Sangwick explains these beasts change forms based on their victims' deepest desires, leaving the younger brother deeply lost in thought. All right, you and I are stepping into trouble here as the doors open to a hallway packed with creepy statues. Sangwick immediately senses a trap, smirking as he realizes the owner wants to play games. He expected more from a succubus queen. While the masked man warns him, she is likely setting a trap right now. But wait, look closely. He stops by a suit of armor, wondering why it is standing there. Trust me, his new landlord is not normal. Something is lurking behind that suit of armor. Her eyes flare, and she shoots out of it like lightning. All right, you and I are about to watch one crazy chase. Sangwick demands to know where she thinks she's going, tailing her to sign a castle deed before he easily catches up. Showing off his insane speed, he blocks the queen, telling her running is useless. But suddenly, his eyes widen. Sensing something incredibly off about this creature, he asks if she really is Lilith. Now pay attention here because their clash is pure chaos. Flashes and massive explosions erupt everywhere as they tear the entire place apart at breakneck speed. Swinging his powerful blade, Sangwick admits this succubus queen is on a completely different level. After all, she is Lilith, the legendary lady of night witches. She laughs, asking if he regrets fighting her now. Too late anyway, because his sword is shattered. Still, she is shocked he blocked her attack. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. Trust me, you need to see this. The queen smiles, bragging his luck has run out until she realizes her horn is completely shattered. Sprawled on the ground, Sang-hook mocks her, telling the queen to stop wasting time and bring it on, since he has other battles waiting. Let's dive into the moment our main character pushes a powerful succubus way too far. Lilith snaps, but they are suddenly back in reality, and he needs to know if this girl is truly her. Our masked lead demands answers, wanting to confirm her identity. Annoyed, the girl just snaps at him to get lost, trying to brush past him. But a sudden force stops her cold. He catches her effortlessly. This pint-sized queen struggles, furiously demanding her freedom, but he has her completely locked down. Sang-hook just looks down at her and calls her a mere brat. Giving her a chilling glare, he warns her not to make him ask twice. Terrified and out of options, the young succubus finally cracks and confesses her name is Lilith. Still skeptical, he demands to know why she shrunk into a kid. But before she can answer, a sudden shift in the air grabs his attention. Boom! An explosion tears through the room. Now pay attention, because as the walls crumble and debris rains down, our masked monarch blocks it effortlessly. But who exactly are these new horned intruders? A powerful succubus named Mary. Let's dive right back in as he puts his mask on, telling her she has no idea what's happening and needs to start asking nicely instead of ordering him around. Marin has absolutely no clue how dangerous he really is, but her orders are clear. They must kill the human because Hugh is waiting. Instantly, his eyes glow as he easily dodges their coordinated attack. Now, watch closely as he catches Moran completely off guard, asking if 6 demons are really enough to stop him. In a flash, our masked monarch swoops in and snatches his little brother right out of the succubus's claws. He asks Sang-min if he can run, and the boy nods. As the demons unleash a barrage of fireballs, Sang-hook effortlessly dodges them all, forcing the creatures to try even harder. Stick with me for what comes next. Alright, you and I are about to watch this masked powerhouse threaten to take their fingers. But Marianne, the strongest succubus, refuses to back down and unleashes her signature butterfly dash directly at him. Sang-hook does not even flinch. Right before the blast connects, a massive bolt of lightning strikes the castle, charging his blade with blinding energy. Suddenly, Marianne's confidence completely vanishes into pure terror. Enveloped in that shocking white light, he is not alone. Sang-hook is holding Lilith, coldly asking if she is finally ready to talk, calling her an annoying little princess. As morning comes, the dark atmosphere of the castle completely shifts. The demon princess Lilith sits quietly on her bed, while Sang-hook finally gets a moment of peace. Our masked protagonist wants to get straight to business. He asks if this dump is actually the legendary Night Witch castle. Furious, Lilith snaps back, demanding to know what else it could possibly be. Ignoring her attitude, Sang-hook mutters that it looks more like a sketchy club. This makes the princess pause, right before he reminds her that she is supposed to rule this place. Marianne chimes in, explaining that the princess is still clueless because she only woke up 100 days ago. The shocking detail catches Sang-hook completely off guard. Now pay attention here, because as everyone stares at Lilith, Sang-hook wonders if her recent awakening explains her childish form. He asks if Marianne is their only top-ranking warrior, but she has no clue. Since humans decided those ranks anyway, Sang-hook simply asks if she is the sole surviving elite member, which she quickly confirms. He points out that Eternal World Citadel had way more survivors. Marianne admits they are clueless about the past. After a brief pause, Sang-hook smiles confidently, putting the pieces together. Gesturing for Lilith to approach, he reaches into his dimensional storage and pulls out a magic scroll. Lilith watches in curiosity as he reveals a master-slave subordination contract. The innocent princess admits she does not know what that means, but Marianne desperately screams at her to stop, warning that this paper will enslave her forever. Sang-hook flares his terrifying energy to silence the meddling succubus. As everyone freezes in fear, he steps toward Lilith, but instead of hurting her, he gently pats her head and tells her to relax. He explains he is only offering protection, leaving the young princess utterly bewildered by his sudden kindness. Let us pause for a second. If another intruder like him shows up, they cannot defend themselves. He explains she will only be bound by this contract until she grows up, giving her the ultimate choice to accept or reject. He waits. Lilith ponders his offer, stands up, and asks if he is serious. Sang-hook playfully asks if that is how she addresses her master. Lilith demands confirmation that she will be freed once she's an adult. The masked man promises to write it down, but warns that breaking the contract means her soul gets completely destroyed. With no other options, Lilith prepares to sign. Marianne desperately calls out to her lady, but the young queen is already preparing her ink for the signature. Using her own blood to sign the parchment, a bright magical glow binds the pact. Sang-Huk grins under his mask, the deal finalized. He then turns to the loyal protector, asking for her name. The succubus hesitates for a brief moment before confirming her identity. Instantly, all the demons bow down before their new lord. Smirking, he suggests they start by changing the castle sign. Meanwhile, over in Monument Valley in America, players are hunting monsters, deflecting a sudden backstab with dual blades. He holds his ground to stay alive, pushing the beast back. And trust me, you and I are going to love what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to watch a total beast completely tear through a brutal battle. Completely surrounded, he does not care. He slices through his enemies like bread, and with one massive swing, splits them in half, blasting those monsters away. To be honest, this guy is terrifying. Meet Richard Polson, the Sun Knight of the Absolute Guild, level 220. He calmly tells his team to search the area because these monsters might have dropped some useful items. Suddenly, a masked man calls out to his leader. This is Harry Bertland, level 187, famously known as the Scythe of Judgment. He mentions a serious update, prompting Richard to snatch the phone right out of his hand. The legendary knight pays close attention to the news. He smirks the moment he realizes it is about the masked monarch, meaning the top player is finally back. Meanwhile, over in a freezing Russian city, citizens are bundling up against the bitter cold. Everyone is glued to their phone screens, completely locked into the massive breaking news. It is the exact same scene over in the United Kingdom, where people wander through the streets totally absorbed in their devices. Now, pay attention here, because this news is spreading like wildfire. Headlines about the masked monarch are on every newsstand. Even in Hong Kong, it is the only thing people can talk about. Elsewhere, someone is taking down multiple photos of the monarch, studying each picture with intense focus. His eyes stop on a very specific detail. At the same time, in Seoul, Suk gears up in his armor, suddenly sensing that someone is stalking him. Turning around, he finds a group of men waiting. It is Chask Hyun, level 102, the guild master of Balhae. The masked hero jokingly calls him a bastard, saying it has been forever, and Chask laughs and agrees. Suk cuts straight to the point, asking what they want. He mockingly asks if the guild master is here to beg for forgiveness, which makes Chask break out in a cold sweat. The guild master admits they made a massive mistake in the other world, promising never to do it again as he begs for mercy. Suk just laughs at his desperate words, noting how incredibly bizarre their world truly is. Let that sink in for a second. We have one man begging for forgiveness from the person who took his life. Suk actually grants it, but with one major condition. Sang-Huk orders him to hold a live press conference tomorrow to confess to every single crime, warning him not to hide a single detail if he wants to avoid a brutal punishment. Our masked hero asks if he can handle that, and Sukun has no choice but to agree. Sang-Huk warns him that things are about to get incredibly rough. Everything he built is going to crash down, reminding him that you cannot achieve real success without going through absolute pain. But if he can endure this trial, Sang-Huk promises to guide him onto the right path. For now, this massive castle belongs to the monarch, who plants a giant crest on the gate to make his absolute ownership crystal clear. Outside, a massive crowd of eager reporters has gathered, everyone desperately trying to score a viral scoop. They scream at the gates, shouting that they know he is hiding inside and just begging for a quick interview. They keep pleading for the guards to open up. Even the director of the player management department has arrived, while a nervous staff member whispers, asking if they are absolutely sure the masked hero is actually inside. He suggests they turn back immediately. This is Park Hung-shik, a 12-year veteran player who remembers how terrifying the masked monarch was in the Eternal World. He warns them not to anger this beast, which completely irritates the director. Young Chol scoffs, claiming the masked guy should be coming out to bow to him. Yet they are talking about retreating. He boasts that no matter how powerful this player is, he is still the mighty director of player management. He literally starts slamming on the heavy gates. Young Chol rages, yelling that the monarch should have crawled to find him the second he returned, getting furious that he is being shut out like a commoner. Suddenly, the massive front doors swing open. Everyone peers into the darkness, and the director wears a smug, ambitious grin. He laughs, thinking he successfully intimidated our hero, shouting that he is ready to test the monarch's true strength. But Sunchik instantly senses a dangerous shift in the air. He frantically warns the group that the cloud heading their way is toxic dream dust, telling them to cover up immediately. He yells for everyone to run. Sung blocks the dust, but as things clear, Get This Mong is suddenly completely naked, doing a bizarre dance. And that is where we leave it for today. You and I are jumping right into the action as Sung realizes he is hallucinating, desperately trying to protect the director on camera. Sung Min thinks the intruder looks like a big deal, but his brother snaps back, questioning why a big shot would trespass. Suddenly, a strange noise distracts Sung Hai-Kiss, prompting him to pull out his phone to answer an unknown caller. You and I are diving back into this wild ride. Our main character tells his brother to give him a few minutes before stepping away to answer a mysterious call. The voice on the other end is shockingly familiar, speaking in Brazilian. Sung-yuk asks how she got his secret number, but she claims to know everything. She introduces herself as Jae, the mysterious head of the Dark Chamber of Commerce from Eternal World. Sung-yuk demands to know what she wants, but Jae just teases him. Fed up with the mind games, he threatens to hang up immediately if she does not get straight to the point. Jae asks if he has anything valuable to offer, assuming the legendary masked monarch holds incredible treasures. She explains that her Commerce Guild is organizing a massive auction, but they are desperately lacking a blockbuster item. Sung-yuk tries to play dumb, but Jae reminds him that cash is king in this new world. After a brief moment of thought, he decides to offer up a rare ring. Jae asks for details. The monarch explains that this powerful item cuts skill cooldowns by 5%, while boosting fire and magic resistance by 5% each. Jae smiles, absolutely thrilled by the offer. She recognizes the piece, and Sung-yuk confirms it once belonged to the Crimson Witch. Jae laughs, knowing people would literally sell their houses just to get this back. When he asks how to deliver it, Jae explains they will use the secure lockers at Seoul Station. She promises to text him the details before abruptly hanging up the phone. Even Sung-yuk did not expect to get brushed off that quickly. He immediately heads to Seoul Station, pulling up his hood to blend in. Stepping up to the locker, he swings it open to find a mysterious box waiting. Feeling slightly suspicious, he takes the package back to his old home. His brother, Sung Min, is waiting, absolutely desperate for answers. He eyes the massive stacks of cash, wondering what kind of deal went down. Beside the money lies a single envelope. Sung-yuk rips it open without hesitation, and his jaw drops. It is a bank check for a staggering 10 billion. Now pay attention, because this next scene is absolutely wild. Cameras are rolling, catching every single detail as a massive convoy of cargo trucks, led by a small car, speeds directly toward the castle gates. The lead car halts first. From the passenger side, an incredibly stylish blacksmith steps out, rocking a sharp suit. Despite the grand entrance, he looks completely bored and indifferent to everything around him. An escort quickly greets him, saying the master is waiting. Gorgeous horned girls step up to guide him inside, but his face remains locked in deep suspicion. The heavy doors swing open, and Chol-woo finally meets Sang-yuk. The masked monarch notes he is late, but before he can finish, the massive blacksmith suddenly charges right at him. Chol-woo wraps him in a bone-crushing hug, laughing that the kid has a special talent for causing absolute chaos in the world. Struggling to breathe, Sang-yuk just begs him to let go. Sang-yuk gasps for air, complaining that the giant almost choked the life out of him. Once he recovers, he gets right down to business, asking if Chol-woo has decided to move his legendary workshop into the castle. Looking serious, Chol-woo tells him to listen up. He claims he did not come for Sang-yuk's sake, but honestly, how could any self-respecting blacksmith refuse a castle packed with rare raw materials from the other world? He asks if there is even electricity here, since tech famously malfunctions on this altered, chaotic land. Chol-woo explains that building everything from scratch will take time, especially if he has to do it manually like back in Eternal World. That route would take a full month. When Sang-yuk demands it be done in that exact time frame, the blacksmith completely loses his mind. Smiling behind his mask, Sang-yuk offers the Twilight Workshop exclusive first rights to all the high-grade monster drops. He asks if that changes things, instantly making the stubborn blacksmith twitch with greed. Chol-woo grumbles that he would need a heavy-duty mana generator for that. Sang-yuk smiles and asks if he means a phoenix heart, casually pulling out 3 of them right on the spot. Stunned, Chol-woo says that is more than enough. Sang-yuk nonchalantly replies that he has plenty more where those came from, telling him to just ask. But then, he brings up one last favor. The blacksmith is curious, but we immediately cut to a brutal flashback. Monsters swarm the castle walls, and the masked monarch is tearing through them like wet paper. Alongside him, his fierce, loyal warriors are fighting with everything they have. This was back during the final, desperate mission in Eternal World. A mercenary in a gray mask yells at his master to leave these small fry monsters to them and keep moving forward. Another warrior proudly reminds him they are the elite masked mercenaries. A female guild member chimes in, urging the monarch to save his precious mana and strength to face the ultimate demon king. You and I know that tragedy loves to strike at the worst moment. As Sangak hesitates, the terrifying demon king Bale suddenly teleports behind him, mocking his loyal friends. Sangak spins around in horror. Before he can even raise a guard, the demon strikes. The brutal blow makes him spit up blood. Smiling like a psychopath, Bale unleashes a second, massive explosive attack. Sanjuk is blasted backward, his body broken and battered. The sheer, overwhelming pressure of the Demon King is terrifying. Bale smiles, mocking him, saying he expected much more from the legendary masked monarch. Desperate red crystals rain down, but the demon blocks them effortlessly. One guild member attempts a stealthy surprise strike from behind, but Bale shrugs it off like a minor annoyance. The female mercenary unleashes her ultimate skill. Bale vanishes in a blink. Her eyes widen in pure shock, and before she can react, the monster reappears right behind her. Bale sneers that she will be the first to die. Slumped on the ground, the monarch is forced to watch his elite team get slaughtered. Desperate and bleeding, he screams for them to retreat. Butcher rushes over, checking on his master. Sangyuk warns that the Demon King is simply on another level, but the gray-masked warrior insists on buying him time, yelling at him to run. He promises they will follow right behind him. Sangyuk tries to stop this suicide mission, but the butcher hands his trust to their ally. Nearby, Chol Wu, the Twilight Blacksmith, looks on with grim resolve. He asks Sangyuk if he can stand. The monarch frantically orders a full retreat, but the butcher ignores the command, urging him to use a healing potion and save himself first. The loyal warrior has no intention of running. He knows Sangyuk is their only hope to slay the Demon King, begging his lord to power up and finish this nightmare once and for all. With a brave smile, he says this is what the masked mercenaries live for, charging headfirst into battle. Sangyuk screams his name, but coughs up a spray of blood, deeply alarming the nearby blacksmith. A voice echoes, begging him to wake up. Violent explosions rip through the burning castle as his vision begins to fade. The lifeless body of the female guild member lies nearby. His other companions are cut down one by one, and it is too late for the butcher. Forced to witness the brutal slaughter of his family, the monarch closes his eyes in silent, burning fury. He lets out a soul-shattering scream of pure agony. Suddenly, Sangyuk snaps back to reality, breaking free from the nightmare. Just then, an attendant announces that his guests have arrived. He orders them to be let in, quickly sliding his iconic mask back into place. As the grand doors swing open, his long-lost guests step into the room. Sangyuk smiles warmly, welcoming his old friends. Finally, the legendary team is reunited. It has been a long road since their tragic end. The group is led by Butcher, level 165, alongside Vice Captain Guillotine, level 132. Joining them is Iceflower, another Vice Captain at level 138. The masked monarch gazes at his reborn team, smiling as he asks how they have been, and they all look stronger than ever. Butcher laughs, saying they have been eating great, sleeping well, and having plenty of fun. Hearing his old friend's lighthearted words fills Sangyuk with genuine joy. The monarch asks about the rest of the guild, and the giant reveals everyone rushed to Seoul the moment they heard he was back. Trust me, you and I cannot miss what happens next. All right, you and I are jumping right into the action. Butcher and the crew are ready to reunite for their lord's return, with one even moving his whole family to Korea. While the monarch thinks that is overkill, Iceflower says they await his command. With one word, he can mobilize everyone. Sangyuk is incredibly pleased with his loyal team. He tosses a suitcase to the big guy, who wonders what is inside. The monarch calmly reveals it holds 3 billion won. His master plan? Use that cash to move their headquarters right here. This sudden news leaves the entire room stunned. Little do they know, construction on the site has already begun. Dozens of workers are hard at work with plenty left to build. Looking down from above, Sang Hayuk and Chol Wu oversee the progress. The master notes that things are moving incredibly fast, and Chol Wu agrees. After all, over 100 people, including elite mercenaries, are sweating over this project. The workshop furnace is nearly complete as well, which means they can speed up production to a whole new level. Suddenly, Sang-hyu warns the blacksmith to get ready too, sparking his curiosity. That is when the monarch drops a bombshell his plan to conquer the world, utterly terrifying Chol Wu. Meanwhile, in Italy, a mysterious woman sips her drink. She smiles, asking her partner if he is heading out. As a member of the elite Red Magic Tower Guild, the Crimson Witch stands at a terrifying level 205. Her partner suddenly shivers as the clock strikes exactly 1. The witch immediately asks about the requested item. He shakes a small red box, drawing her curious eyes to what is hidden inside. The box is popped open instantly. A brilliant crimson light glows, illuminating the witch's face as she recognizes her precious, lost ring. Wondering how it returned to the real world, she asks if the masked monarch is behind this. But the man demands 20 billion won, asking how she plans to pay. Over the phone, a voice asks if they should use the same account. She authorizes the transfer of 20 billion won. The witch tells her dealer to verify his account, and upon checking, he instantly jumps to his feet in shock. Now satisfied, the dealer confirms that the masked monarch indeed retrieved the item. This takes the witch by surprise. She smiles, wondering what that mysterious monarch is plotting at this very moment. Over in Inja County, massive explosions suddenly tear through the peaceful land. Terrified citizens run for their lives as horrific, razor-toothed monsters hunt them down, seeking blood and destruction. Guillotine explains that Echo Canyon was a notorious refuge for the undead in the game, now spawned in Inja County. Its vast mountain ranges make it cover an immense stretch of land. Because of this, nearby cities are forced to evacuate whenever the undead overflow, leading to catastrophic damage across the region. Pay attention here, because this is where the monarch plans their first move. Since the government has no clue how to handle this headache, he decides the masked mercenaries will conquer it, smiling at the challenge. He declares they will make their grand departure as massive and flashy as possible. Sang-hyuk wants the entire world to know that the masked crew is officially back. Right on cue, a reporter is already snooping around the castle, eager to break the news. He prepares to broadcast the grand send-off of the masked mercenaries guild live to the world. The reporter hypes up the monarch's insane mission to conquer the deadly Echo Canyon. Sensing the tension, he realizes the show is about to start as the heavy castle gates finally swing open. A massive legion of masked warriors marches out. Camera flashes explode around Butcher, while a quick flashback shows the doors opening for our main trio. The Lord warns them that modern weapons are useless here, offering to supply anything they need. Stunned by the godly gear, one merc asks if these are legendary items from the game world. The monarch explains they have serious work ahead, and calls the gear a simple signing bonus. Moved by this gesture, Butcher stands tall like a true leader. He roars that the masked mercenaries will conquer Echo Canyon, ordering everyone to board the buses. The reporter updates the public on the guild's march to Inja County. He questions how on earth this rookie team plans to clear a wasteland where every top guild has miserably failed. Regardless, the network promises live coverage as they head straight to the scene. Meanwhile, Sang-hyuk quietly celebrates how well the team's rehearsal went, glancing down at the girl beside him. He asks if she is enjoying her ice cream, and Lilith beams with a bright smile. The masked hero points out she has already eaten 10 of them, but the princess insists they are delicious. Defeated by her cuteness, Sang-hyuk declares this is the absolute last one because they have a secret destination to reach, leaving her highly curious. With a smirk, he tells her they have business to attend to, cryptically adding that he left something important behind. Ahead of them, only 2 guards block the entrance. They are glued to KBN News, wondering when the masked monarch will strike. Now watch, as the guards laugh about how humiliating a failure would be, completely unaware of what is coming. A presence looms. The guard tries to shout a warning that the area is strictly off-limits, but a mysterious mist suddenly rolls in, putting them both fast asleep on the cold ground. Even Lilith is shocked by his swift efficiency. She asks if she can mess with them, but the monarch tells her to leave them be since time is running out. Together, they slip inside. Lilith shivers, sensing a massive wave of dense mana. Looking terrified, she asks where they are, admitting she hates spooky spots. This is the bridal catacomb, resting place of holy knights. But this once sacred ground was corrupted by demon lord Baal, disturbing the peaceful slumber of these holy warriors. Baal's dark authority supercharges the resident monsters, turning this holy sanctuary into a terrifying kingdom of the undead. Suddenly, a skeletal beast creeps up right behind Lilith. Startled, she lashes out, shattering the skeleton into a pile of bones. However, the fragments begin to piece themselves back together. With one effortless punch, the monarch obliterates the monster completely. Because of Baal's dark energy, the undead here are on an entirely different level, especially the legendary fallen pope. This boss is famously overpowered and notorious for his insane strength, but the monarch is here for a very specific prize. Approaching a massive, peculiar door, he tells Lilith to wait outside. Even as the future demon queen, Lilith is absolutely terrified. The masked monarch pushes the door open and approaches a blindingly radiant blade, the most overpowered weapon in the game, Admiran, the Dragon King's mercy. Sang-hyuk gazes at his ultimate prize. Without wasting a single heartbeat, he grips the hilt and pulls it free, unleashing an even brighter, blinding light. This is the legendary blade that decapitated the Demon King and pierced his dark heart, truly a godly weapon fit for our max-level main character. Suddenly, he senses movement and turns to see an entire army of undead. Leading the horde is the fallen Pope himself, radiating pure, destructive power. Sang Hyuk just smiles, ready to unleash his new toy. But before he can even swing, a sudden strike blasts the monsters. Confused, Sang Hyuk looks over to find a mysterious hooded figure who just wiped out the vanguard. The stranger chuckles, revealing he is another masked player who certainly did not expect to run into the legendary monarch here. In rage, the undead lunges at the green-cloaked warrior. But with effortless grace, he swiftly dodges their claws, leaving them striking thin air. He glances down coolly at the pile of shattered bones. Drawing a massive magic circle in the dirt with his weapon, he channels the scattered monster remains. With glowing eyes, he begins chanting the ancient, forbidden incantations. The bones begin to violently rattle as his powerful chant echoes through the tomb. Raising his hands high, he summons a hellhound born in the deepest abyss. A blinding flash erupts as Sang Hyuk watches closely. And trust me, you and I just witnessed a beast of a summon being born. The master tells it to feast, and the undead army is absolutely torn to shreds by this hellhound. All right, you and I are about to watch this absolute beast of a summon tear through an undead army. As monsters swarm with swords, this terrifying hound is just too fierce, pinning them down and crushing bones with his single bite. A fresh wave of skeleton monsters rushes the hound, but that only fuels its rage as it rips them to shreds, leaving Sanghai completely frozen as he watches the slaughter. The kid is absolutely terrified. This hellhound is on a relentless rampage, shattering bones and tearing skeletons into piles of dust with its massive jaws before turning around to let out a blood-curdling howl. Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning strikes from above, instantly vaporizing the hellhound. The hooded summoner glares toward the source, only to find the fallen Pope standing right there. The fallen Pope retaliates, gathering energy to fire another devastating magical strike. He unleashes a massive blast of energy, but our masked main character shrugs it off like it was nothing. Frustrated, the boss charges in for a direct melee strike. The hooded summoner barely dodges the impact, chanting his magic spell, Naramabiku Convoy shot on the run while the beast pursues him. He finishes the chant, Narapusuma, summoning a pack of vicious hellhounds that snarl at the Pope, but the boss swings his holy relic, wiping out several summons with a single sweep. Even against an entire pack, the fallen Pope dominates the battlefield with ease. Watching the carnage in sheer panic, the hooded summoner suddenly realizes a barrage of magic is heading straight for him. The Pope thinks he scored a kill, but the masked monarch blocks the blow with a magic barrier. Instead of being grateful, the arrogant hooded summoner snaps, complaining that he never asked for a savior. But Sang Hyuk just scoffs at his stubborn attitude. Drawing his legendary new weapon, the monarch is ready to delete this boss from the map once and for all. Watch closely now, he unleashes a devastating strike with his dragon blade, generating a massive explosion that terrifies the boss. Even the hooded summoner is stunned when Sang Hyuk casually mentions they haven't met since their first Suicide Squad mission. Meet the legendary necromancer, Yang Su-chan. The summoner asks why he isn't holding the line at Echo Canyon, while Sang Hyuk questions what brought him to this dangerous area. Su-chan shrugs, claiming he came for the high-quality bones of this ancient battlefield. The monarch calls him insane for venturing out solo, before dropping a massive offer inviting him to join the masked mercenary guild. Su-chan questions his motives for extending the invite. Sang Hyuk reveals he knows the necromancer wants to surpass the legendary Ahmed Hassan, offering his guild support to reach that goal. Pondering the offer, the necromancer wonders why such an overpowered guild would even need his power. With a confident smirk, Sang Hyuk reveals his ultimate endgame, which is to slay the Demon King and end this war forever. Meanwhile, back at the airport, Jay has just touched down. Her phone begins to ring, and she quickly answers it without wasting a single second. Crowds gather around TVs showing breaking news of the guild's massive victory in Echo Canyon. While listening to the reporter, Jay pieces the clues together on the phone and finally realizes the truth. Staring intently at the broadcast, she decides her first move must be to meet the masked monarch in person. She heads straight to a local cafe, scanning the room for her contact. Spotting Sang Min sitting by the window, she approaches and calls his name. She asks where the monarch is, but the boy just shakes his head, claiming he cannot understand her. Jay is shocked when he suddenly speaks fluent Roselian, but he casually reminds her that he is a player too. She admits the fantasy tongue feels much more natural after surviving the other realm. It was the ultimate universal translator for players from every corner of Earth. Shaking off the nostalgia, she politely introduces herself as the powerful head of the Dark Chamber of Commerce. The two sit down over coffee, and she congratulates him on their legendary triumph at Echo Canyon. But when she asks where the master is, Sang-min explains that the monarch was too busy, sending him instead. Jae nods, knowing the Crimson Warrior rarely has free time. Getting straight to business, she demands to see the cargo, and Sang-min slides over a secure box which she opens with anticipation. I know what you were thinking, this must be some legendary loot. Her eyes literally light up, promising they will handle the sale with ease, though she mentions another pressing matter needs attention. Sang-min explains his brother wanted her to investigate a separate issue, and Jae confirms she already sent out those special invitations, leaving the boy eager to hear how they responded. Jae smirked, noting they have no choice but to show up when summoned by the monarch himself. Meanwhile, inside a luxury car, elite players ask Richard about their destination, wondering if this is indeed Guanguamo. We see Michael Byrne, the legendary Hammer of God from the United Kingdom's Cathedral Knights. Next to him, whispers spread about a stunning Chinese powerhouse, Liu Sha-yi, leader of the Nine Dragon Swordsmen. Other elite guests are busy enjoying the street food. Russian powerhouse Ian Galileo from the Emperor Guild orders more pancakes, completely ignoring the solemn guards watching over the perimeter. Nearby, Hagawa Ryota from Japan's Forest Sword Ghost Guild sips his coffee in absolute silence, just as Manuel Matthias from the German Dragon Hunters makes his grand entrance. He stands before the massive castle of the masked monarch, confident he has arrived at the right summit. Within minutes, breaking news of their arrival spreads across the globe. The news reports that elite guild leaders from across the planet landed in Korea early this morning. Speculation runs wild about this sudden gathering as the legendary guests quietly file into the fortress. A lavish feast is prepared for these legendary powerhouses. While Richard remains highly suspicious of the setup, Ian relaxes, unaware they are being observed from high above. Chul Wu is amazed to see these world-class players gathered together, a sight unseen since their first suicide mission. The blacksmith chuckles, admitting Sang-Huk always knows how to make headlines. Losing his temper, Michael slams his fists onto the table, demanding to know how long they will be kept waiting, threatening to walk out if the host is a minute late. Richard sighs, calling him as impatient as ever. The beautiful Lubo agrees, pointing out that the masked monarch still treats them like mere pawns in his grand designs. When the others look confused, she reminds them how the monarch used their strength back in Eternal World, though Ian defends him, stating they simply teamed up to clear the ultimate quest. With a smug grin, he asks if their host could have ever survived without their help. Annoyed, Lubo snaps that the masked bastard stole all the credit for himself anyway. Richard tells them to cut the act, pointing out they are not angry about glory, but the rewards. Lubo counters that discovering the treasure is exactly why they all showed up. Michael reminds the table that the monarch smuggled legendary relics out of the fantasy realm, urging everyone to observe the high-tier mercenary armor that clearly originates from Eternal World. As Richard observes the tense atmosphere, a powerful voice echoes through the hall. The masked monarch enters, declaring they must celebrate this historic reunion that nobody could have ever predicted. Michael scoffs at the friendly greeting, snapping that they did not travel halfway across the globe for a simple trip down memory lane. He demands to know his real motive. With a knowing grin, Sang-Huk decides not to waste another second. He raises his arm, plunging his bare hand into thin air, leaving the elite masters completely frozen in shock. Ryota instantly recognizes the legendary dimensional pocket as a massive relic is pulled out. Everyone gasps in pure disbelief while an enraged Michael demands to know how he obtained it. It is the blonde giant's personal warhammer, fueling his rage as he charges the throne. Sang-Huk casually urges him to relax, explaining he only summoned them to return their gear. Michael is frozen in absolute disbelief. The monarch flashes a devious grin, and trust me, this weapon auction is about to turn into absolute chaos. All right, you and I are about to jump into a moment that caught everyone completely off guard. Michael reacts with pure rage, demanding to know what the kid is doing with his weapon. But Sang-Huk just smiles, asking why an ownerless hammer from the game belongs to him. He casually asks if there is a problem. Naturally, that makes Michael absolutely lose his mind. But the real shock comes when Richard suddenly steps in and offers to buy the hammer himself. The Golden Knight makes his stance crystal clear. If the monarch says it is an auction, anyone can bid. Michael snaps, threatening to send his rival straight to the next life the moment he gets his weapon back. Suddenly, someone tells them to shut up. A suited announcer sets the starting bid at 10 million, with 500,000 minimum increments, kicking off the bidding war. Behind closed doors in a private room, Jae asks if he is being a bit too cruel to them. But Sang-Huk just plays dumb, pretending he has no idea what she means. Jae wants to know his real goal. Is he trying to rule over everyone, or is he just chasing massive wealth? His answer is simple, it is all just bait, leaving her completely intrigued. With the bait cast, Sang-Huk knows it is only a matter of time before they bite. Meanwhile, the auction floor is heating up fast. The bids keep flying until they hit 31 million. Richard raises it by another 500,000, deeply irritating Michael. But out of nowhere, Manuel drops a massive bid of 200 million. The auctioneer calls out, asking if anyone dares to go higher. Desperate to regain his hammer, Michael has no choice but to bid 210 million. Silence fills the room as no one opposes him, though the tension between them is practically suffocating. Next up is the main event, a legendary sword called the Sun's Blessing. The moment it appears, Richard looks absolutely stunned. Now, pay attention here because this is where things get tense. Richard anxiously scans the room, worried another master will snatch the blade. Michael wears a smug grin, ready for revenge, and instantly drops a bid of 200 million, trapping the Golden Knight. With the auction finally over, Richard walks through the quiet streets, enjoying the cool night air. Suddenly, a cold voice calls out from the shadows, claiming they have unfinished business. Michael steps forward, completely furious. Richard tries to brush it off, pointing out that Michael's petty bidding war forced him to spend over 200 million as well. But for Michael, the money is not the issue here. Drawing a deadly dagger, he snaps. Instantly, they clash, their sheer power triggering small explosions all around them. The Golden Knight demands to know if this is how he wants to play it. Michael roars, swearing that Richard will not walk away spotless after disrespecting him, promising to end him tonight. But Richard is not backing down. Unleashing a heavy counterattack, Richard strikes with his armored gauntlet, sending the blonde fighter flying backward. Michael crashes hard, groveling on the dirt. Richard coldly reminds him that even in the other world, his level is far superior. And in the real world, it is the exact same story. Refusing to yield, Michael tells him to shut up and blindly charges with his blade, caught off guard but desperate. Richard barely dodges the deadly slash, watching it obliterate the concrete wall behind him. Realizing Michael is genuinely trying to kill him, the Golden Knight draws his newly bought sword. He mutters that neither of them is walking away alive. Michael raises his heavy war hammer, fully agreeing. One brandishes a glowing sword, the other swings a massive hammer, ready for the final clash. Under the silent night sky, they charge, ready to fight to the bitter end. The rivals stare each other down, totally bewildered. Neither of them actually landed a hit, leaving both Richard and Michael utterly confused by the outcome. Michael angrily accuses the Golden Knight of holding back, but Richard insists he did not. To prove it, he swings a heavy punch straight at him. Michael blocks and strikes back, but suddenly freezes in absolute confusion. Richard does the same. Both of them stare blankly at their legendary weapons, unable to comprehend why their powers are totally gone. I know what you're thinking, but wait, neither the Sun's Blessing nor Tyen's Wrath is actually working. Up from a high window, Sang-Huk watches them fail, smirking because his brilliant plan worked perfectly and they took the bait. Richard later confronts the masked monarch, accusing him of knowing the truth all along. Why did he sell a sword that cannot even be used? But Sang-Huk casually fires back, asking why he is complaining about a purchase he made willingly. He points out that the Golden Knight should have checked his own level and points before buying an advanced weapon. Admitting defeat, Richard sighs and asks what it will take to finally unlock its power. Basically, the monarch wants him to beg. He knows the United States is currently struggling with high-level dungeons they cannot clear. Sang-Huk smiles, offering to handle those dungeons himself, leaving the knight stunned. Richard warns him that it is not that simple. Korea might be different, but in America, all hunting grounds and portals are under maximum military security. Sang-Huk chuckles, saying that is exactly why he wants him to beg, because eventually, they will desperately need his help. The monarch remains completely calm, leaving Richard to grapple with the situation. But when the knight steps outside, he freezes. The other top-tier masters are standing there, waiting for him. The bald master immediately demands to know if the monarch brought up dungeon territories with him too. Richard sighs, realizing that the masked man just played all of them like fools. Michael, true to his explosive temper, erupts in fury over being tricked, screaming that someone is going to pay with their life. But another master quickly shuts him down, asking if he is just naturally brainless or simply acting stupid. Richard suggests it is time to make a deal. He points out that with their current pathetic weapons, they could not even block a single hit, leaving even the hot-headed Michael speechless. Richard leaves them with a choice: either they make a deal with the devil, or they fail. The masters fall into a heavy silence. Meanwhile, deep in the mountains of Gangwon Province, horrific monsters roar as they launch an assault. Giant red beasts tear through hordes of skeletal warriors, shattering their bones with single, devastating punches. They obliterate everything in their path. However, a sneaky skeleton manages a surprise attack, decapitating one of the red giants. Seeing an opening, The undead swarm the remaining beasts with sheer numbers. High above the chaotic battlefield, a figure quietly observes. It is Seok-chan, the necromancer. Sang-hook appears beside him, genuinely impressed that he managed to clear this deadly area entirely on his own. The necromancer scoffingly asks what else he expected from a top-tier player. The masked monarch chuckles, amused by how quickly his ally adjusted to this crazy reality. Shifting gears, the hooded necromancer questions his absurd demands at the auction. He reminds him that this is no longer just a game called Eternal World. If a player dies out here, they are gone forever. Sang-hook asks where he is going with this. Seok-chan explains his ultimate conclusion: players must grow stronger on their own if they want to survive. The monarch just listens quietly. The necromancer notes that while Sang-hook has a massive stash of legendary gear, he cannot possibly equip every single person. Sang-hook knows there are over 100 million solo players, making it impossible to hand out gear to everyone. He could help in other ways, but choosing who gets aid is a dilemma, meaning players ultimately must find their own strength. The necromancer stares at him silently. Seok-chan understands his logic, but it still does not fully answer his question. Sang-hook needs to be much clearer about his ultimate goal. Suddenly, a painful memory flashes in his mind: the devastating day he lost Sang-min, right after his brother promised they would fight together until the very end. He remembers Iceflower sacrificing herself to buy him time to escape. His loyal guildmates stayed behind, believing he was the only hope to defeat the Demon King. They all embraced the end of their journey with no regrets. Sang-hook fought on alone in search of hope, only to find his entire guild wiped out. And as we leave things on this dark memory, Bale's chilling voice whispers that the real game is finally starting. Alright, you and I are diving right back into the action. The Demon King sports a sinister grin as Sang-hook glares back in anger. He just made a ridiculous demand, but only because he refuses to lose this team. Suchin falls silent, finally understanding his leader's motives. Meanwhile, the news is blowing up with reports about the legendary solo conqueror and his masked mercenary guild clearing the fallen sanctuary. But that is not all. Reports reveal the masked monarch cleared 3 impossible dungeons and hunting grounds, single-handedly turning South Korea into the ultimate gaming powerhouse of the world. Over at the JW Group headquarters, the frustrated boss demands to know why they still haven't contacted the monarch. He screams that the entire world is watching Korea right now, offering any sum just to get him in front of the cameras. Meanwhile, Sang-hook is chilling on a gorgeous island, enjoying the sunset with his usual calm smile. He figures this gorgeous spot is perfect for television. Suddenly, his phone rings. It is Jay. She teasingly asks how it feels to be a global superstar, but Sang-hook coldly warns her that if she is just wasting his time, he is hanging up. Jay chuckles at his lack of patience and cuts straight to the chase. She just received a call from the United States, congratulating him because his master plan actually worked. Meanwhile, out in the desolate Las Vegas desert, things are clearly going south. Regardless, Sang-hook was personally recommended to conquer a dungeon deemed absolutely impossible to clear. Everything seems dead quiet until a volley of missiles is launched, turning the entire zone into a fiery war zone. Thick smoke pours out of the military weapons as they rain down destruction. With the strike complete, the command center tries to confirm the damage live on broadcast, but visibility is completely shot due to a massive dust storm, so they scramble for Squadron 1's camera feed. But that is a bust too because of the heavy fog. Left with no choice, they activate Plan C, deploying a massive military task force equipped with heavy war tanks. Dozens of heavily armed soldiers march in to handle the threat. Now pay attention to this part because through the thick haze, glowing red eyes appear. An explosion rocks the line, but they are ordered to hold formation. Chaos erupts in the blinding fog, leaving everyone clueless about what is tearing them apart. A soldier tries desperately to peer through the haze, when a terrifying roar from right behind him freezes him solid. He whips around and immediately unleashes a hail of bullets, fighting for his life against the monsters. Meanwhile, over at McCarran International Airport, a private jet has just touched down. The cabin door opens, and Sang-hook steps out. He is greeted by Richard, who remarks that our main character finally got exactly what he wanted. The Golden Knight asks if he deserves a thank you, but Sang-hook just shrugs it off. Richard simply wishes him good luck, holding total faith in the masked man. Soon they are driving towards the destination together, the tension building in the quiet vehicle. Richard breaks the heavy silence, admitting the situation on the ground is incredibly grim. 5 top guilds, including Absolute, failed to clear the zone for years, and even a massive military offensive recently ended in a total disaster. Sang-hook knows exactly what they are up against. Richard adds that while the government gave them the green light, there is a catch. Richard looks back, totally irritated. Suchan snaps, asking what he is staring at, while a hungry Lilith whines for ice cream. Richard is completely baffled by this bizarre duo. He asks the masked man if it is seriously just the three of them. Sang-Huk explains the guild is busy back in Korea raiding other dungeons. Losing his patience, Richard tells him to listen closely, convinced the masked monarch does not understand the danger. He warns that hundreds of lives have already been lost in this death trap, and it will not be an easy stroll. Suddenly, the hooded necromancer speaks up to get his attention. Suchin admits he does not fully grasp what they are discussing, but tells Richard not to sweat it because they will not fail. Though that blind confidence makes Richard uneasy, they drive on. Out in the scorching desert, a drone flies over the military camp. The perimeter is packed with reporters flashing their cameras, when suddenly, something catches everyone's eye. At long last, the legendary masked monarch has arrived. Media crews swarm him, demanding to know if he actually has the confidence to conquer this nightmare dungeon. Let's pause for a second. Look at what they are up against the Great Labyrinth. Sang-Huk peers into the dusty haze, knowing this place is deemed utterly impossible to clear, not just in reality, but in eternal world as well. Suchin asks if he has ever cleared it before. Sang-Huk explains that the Great Labyrinth constantly shifts its paths and monster spawns. Even when he luckily defeated the boss in the past, he could never fully clear the entire zone. Receiving the clearance to enter, Sang-Huk tells his team not to worry, because his current level is vastly superior to what it was back then. As their car idles, a sudden knock on the window prompts Richard to roll it down, demanding to know what is going on. The commander of the Absolute Guild asks if only 3 people are seriously entering. Richard confirms it, telling him to believe his own eyes. Harry admits he respects the masked monarch, but still finds this plan utterly ridiculous. After all, multiple guilds and entire armies could not even locate the entrance to the Great Labyrinth, so how could 3 people possibly find it? The Golden Knight stays silent, lacking a solid answer. Yet, Richard doubts they will fail because of one simple truth. The masked monarch is the only player to ever complete every single quest in Eternal World. The blinding dust storm intensifies, completely cutting off their vision. Suchan asks how they can even navigate, but Sang-Huk sternly warns him to keep his guard up. This is exactly where players get turned around and devoured by beasts. Lilith starts whining about being hungry, demanding ice cream. The monarch reassures her that he will buy her some the moment they finish, hoping to quiet her down. He promises to buy her 10 whole tubs. Overjoyed by the massive treat, Lilith happily tells him to keep his word. Fully aware she is not human, Suchan questions why he brought a kid along, but the monarch tells him not to sweat it. Sang-Huk reveals he needs to test something, as the dense fog continues to swallow their surroundings. The necromancer estimates they have been walking for 2 hours without seeing a single thing. He asks if they have finally arrived, but nothing awaits them except the endless, eerie fog. Panic setting in, Suchan desperately calls out for Sang-Huk. Blinded by the swirling dust, he shouts again and again. Terrified by a sudden, strange noise in the dark, the necromancer calls out for the Crimson Warrior once more. He demands to know why he is not responding. Suddenly, something catches his eye. Suchin finally spots Sang-Huk, but the scene before him leaves him completely paralyzed with fear. The masked monarch is standing there, brutally wounded. Suchan gasps, asking what happened and who could have done this. He begs for an answer, but only the cold eyes of the armor glow in response. Suddenly, a razor-sharp tail whips out, aiming directly for the necromancer's eyes. But before it can strike, a blast of energy obliterates the monster, as the real monarch and Lilith finally step forward. Sang-Huk reminds him that he warned him to stay alert. He explains that, inside this labyrinth, danger can strike from anywhere. Even little Lilith chimes in, scolding the necromancer to pay closer attention. The trio continues deep into the labyrinth. Finally, they stumble upon something that catches Sang-Huk's interest. Suchin asks if this is the target, and the masked warrior explains that finding the entrance is actually the hardest part. Sang-Huk reveals that back in Eternal World, it took him up to 3 weeks to find it, and he only succeeded after securing a crucial tip from a village non-player character. He ignites a torch with a bright blue flame and hands it over to the visibly confused necromancer. He is told to keep walking to find more lamps, lighting only the 3rd, 4th, and 7th one. Suchin asks if that reveals the entrance, and Sang-Huk nods. Trust me, you and I are about to see how this unravels. The necromancer wonders why he is handling this task, but the monarch has other plans. Sang-Huk warns him to stay focused no matter what and simply light up the lamps. That ominous warning definitely leaves the necromancer sweating. Regardless, Sang-Huk takes off with Lilith, quickly locating the next lamp while Such tracks their sequence, passing the 2nd one on his way. Reaching the 3rd lamp, the necromancer recalls Sang-Huk's orders to light it. Suddenly, a massive noise startles him, making him grit his teeth in pure frustration. Though terrified by the mysterious sound, Su-chan remembers Sang Huk's warning to avoid distractions. Shaking off his fear, he locks back into the mission. Screaming that he has no clue what is happening, Su-chan resolves to follow the monarch's orders. He bolts, but creepy noises echo again, forcing him to halt and investigate. Pushing his limits, Such sprints even faster toward the next objective. He realizes there must be a terrifying reason behind Sang Huk's warning, urging him to hurry up. At last, the hooded figure reaches the seventh lamp and quickly ignites it. The task is complete, triggering a change as Su-chan notices the thick fog finally clearing. With the mist gone, the spectacular view leaves Su-chan speechless. Standing before a massive golden pyramid, he gasps, wondering if this is the Great Labyrinth, just as a voice mocks his delay. Sang Huk and Lilith stand atop defeated monsters, leaving the hooded necromancer stuttering in disbelief. He is completely amazed by the carnage, but Sang Huk casually asks what else he expected to happen. The monarch tells him to get ready to fight, as countless monsters still remain. Such Chan is absolutely horrified by the news, desperately begging for a few minutes to prepare. Now pay attention here, because something massive is waiting behind that golden door as explosions rock the area. Sang Huk leads the way inside. They are finally inside the Great Labyrinth. After clearing the outdoor threats, the trio ascends a massive spiral staircase. Such Chan notes how eerie the silence is, but Sanuk warns him to stay alert. Danger lurks everywhere, and Sanuk admits he has not mapped out all the hidden traps. They trigger instantly, requiring split-second reflexes, though Su-chan confidently claims he is fully prepared. Brushing it off, the necromancer assumes these are basic video game hazards. Suddenly, a volley of arrows shoots toward his head, forcing a desperate dodge that instantly answers his question. Sanguk reminds him to watch his step, but Su-chan insists he is fine, right before another deadly trap nearly crushes his head. Sang Huk laughs, teasing, such about his hilarious scream. The clumsy necromancer keeps triggering worse and worse traps, barely escaping each one, which only makes their journey more chaotic and dangerous. Exhausted and annoyed by the endless hazards, Such Chan completely regrets his earlier confidence. Terrified, he wonders if he will even survive this dungeon run. Unlocking another heavy door, they face yet another choice. Sang Hu reassures them that this stone chamber maze is actually the easiest part of the entire labyrinth. The rules of this maze are quite simple. They must find the exit within 30 attempts by choosing between two doors, or else they will be forced to restart the whole run. Such Chan realizes they are on a tight limit, but his anxiety spikes when he notices a horde of terrifying monsters blocking their path. Sang Huk warns that wrong choices mean endless monster battles, but Such Chan boasts his summons can handle it. Suddenly, a magenta streak flashes past as Lilith flies headfirst into the horde, dodging effortlessly. The tiny princess easily weaves through the raging beasts. When a confused Such asks what she is doing, the monarch jokingly warns him to hold his breath to avoid embarrassing himself. Lilith keeps weaving through the horde, laughing at how slow the beasts are as they fail to touch her. She loops around them, leaving a blazing trail of light that utterly confuses the monsters. In a flash, one beast crashes down, followed instantly by the entire group. I know what you were thinking, those horns on her head are definitely real. Such Chang wonders if she is a rare night witch, asking the monarch how he summoned her. Sanhu summoned Lilith for two specific reasons. He wants to test her combat skills against monsters and help her level up using the life energy of fallen enemies. Having annihilated every single monster, Lilith pouts about the fight ending too quickly. She eagerly demands ice cream, leaving Sanhu deep in thought. Her skills clearly work, but now he must wait to see if she actually grows stronger. Suddenly, an even deadlier pack of monsters emerges from the shadows. This time, Su-chan unleashes his skeleton summons to join the fray. As the Bone Warriors clash with orcs, Sang-Hu watches their smooth progress through the labyrinth. Directing his skeleton army with expert precision, Suin clears out every enemy in sight. With the path cleared, the trio ventures deeper into the labyrinth. Suin asks if this chamber houses the red-eyed Shakiri boss. Sang-Hu explains the boss only spawns once they smash the crystal, prompting Suin to ask about its power. The masked monarch vaguely replies that with enough luck, the man might actually survive. Annoyed by the riddle, Su-chan complains, but Sang-Hu explains this aggressive boss is not a fight to take on alone. When the necromancer asks if Sang-Hu beat it alone, the monarch calmly nods. Su-chan laughs, calling him a total show-off. Ready for action, Su-chan prepares to fight, but Sang-Huk orders him to stand down. He wants to solo the boss, assigning Su-chan a secret task that instantly sparks his curiosity. Out in the real world, people walking on the streets suddenly freeze as they look at their phones. Viral news is spreading like wildfire, leaving everyone completely stunned. In a classroom, a student screams in disbelief, telling his classmates to open Xtube immediately. Within seconds, everyone is glued to their screens. The trending video features the epic showdown between the masked monarch and the red-eyed Shakiri. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Sang-Huk approaches the glowing crystal. The crystal floats gently between miniature pyramids. Stepping forward, the monarch strikes without hesitation, shattering it into a cloud of vibrant, colorful smoke. As the monarch waits, a chilling voice booms, demanding to know who disturbed its sleep. The monstrous boss emerges, roaring that the intruder will pay with his life. Pulling an item from his dimensional pocket, Sang-Huk mocks the boss for using the same tired line. He prepares a special spell designed to teleport them elsewhere. With a smirk, the monarch jokes that he is taking the trapped beast out for some fresh air. Instantly, a bright aura envelops them all. Instantly, they teleport away, leaving the dungeon barren. The live stream of the masked monarch versus the red-eyed Shakiri explodes online, and absolutely nobody wants to miss this historic clash. As they stare each other down in the field, you and I can see the boss looks utterly confused, glaring furiously. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild ride where Sukshin is managing the stream, shocked that reception is perfect out here. He wonders when his partner even planned this. Meanwhile, the giant beast declares the monarch's doom, eyes glowing with pure, destructive energy. A deadly laser blast erupts, but our hero dodges it with ease, building up insane momentum. Sang-Huk prepares to strike. Fortunately, he knows the red-eyed Shakiri's first phase attack pattern is incredibly basic. You and I are about to watch one insane battle as this beast unleashes a barrage of deadly energy beams. Sang-Huk dodges every single glowing orb, closing the distance for some brutal close combat. He lands a solid hit, but the monster deploys his shield. Unfortunately, Shakiri's protective barrier is ridiculously tough. We're talking about a defense that can easily tank over 10 strikes from top-tier players. Sang-Huk knows he would need a special item to spam the blink spell 10 times to bypass this, which basically does not exist. But hey, our main character always has a backup plan. The moment that barrier finally shatters, phase 2 of the boss fight begins. A massive explosion rocks the arena as the beast undergoes a terrifying transformation, revealing its true, hideous form. Roaring out a threat to the intruders, the centaur Shakiri unleashes 3 distinct, deadly attack patterns. First up is a heavy hoof stomp that completely shatters the ground. This devastating move inflicts both a fear debuff and a nasty stun effect, meaning one wrong step is game over. Next is a massive area of effect sweep, where the beast swings its massive blades to shred everything nearby to ribbons. And as for the third attack pattern, honestly, if it pulls that out, your only option is to run. Sang-Huk narrowly slips away before getting absolutely flattened by a vicious headbutt. Because of that heavy miss, Shakiri ends up self-stunned for 5 whole seconds. Our guy just smirked, knowing exactly how to exploit this window. Watch closely right here. He leaps high, gripping his blade before unleashing a devastating blast straight at the monster's face. The massive explosion blows the boss's head clean off, sending Sang-Huk flying back a few meters. As the heavy smoke gradually clears, the giant centaur is completely gone, leaving nothing behind but its legendary sword. Sang-Huk smiles, satisfied that this crazy raid is finally over and done with. The entire livestream chat explodes in absolute shock. Nobody can believe what they just witnessed. Even Richard, who is tuning in, is left wondering how this masked player soloed such a legendary boss so effortlessly. Even Harry admits he always knew the guy was a beast, but this level of power is just ridiculous. Still, the commander is left scratching his head, wondering why this mysterious warrior decided to broadcast the raid publicly. Richard explains that the Great Labyrinth resets automatically even after being cleared, meaning Shakiri will eventually respawn. Harry wants to push for more answers, but the conversation is cut short when the Golden Knight's phone starts ringing. The caller drops a bombshell, shouting that the Fishman has finally emerged. Richard freezes in sheer shock as they report that the legendary underwater kingdom of Ennis is actively starting to materialize in the real world. Harry demands an explanation, forcing Richard to explain the threat of Ennis, which mirrors the terrifying rise of the underground kingdom of Loki. To make matters worse, there's also the sky island of Braheim. Richard asks what happens if all these legendary dungeons materialize at once, but the commander tries to deny it, even though deep down he is silent. You and I both know the knight is right about one thing. The monarch cannot solo this entire crisis alone. This stream was a message to the world, telling every player they need to level up and stand together. A picture of the most hideous monster imaginable appears on Sang-Huk's phone screen. Suddenly, Sang-Min walks in, squinting at the screen and asking what kind of nightmare creature that is. It's an abomination nobody has ever seen before, Sang-Huk reveals these things started appearing in Eternal World after his demise, created by a sick psychopath who spliced human DNA with monster genetics to build horrific hybrids. The kid is completely fascinated by these mutated crossbreeds. Sang-Min speaks his mind, and his brother confirms the dark truth. The mad scientist behind this horror has actually crossed over into the real world. A man named Edgar Gonzalez. This quiet mountain village looks peaceful on the surface, but it is actually crawling with bloodthirsty monsters. Sang-Huk is already on site, quietly observing their every move from the shadows. During an emergency meeting, they decide this rogue scientist must be stopped immediately. He has raided multiple villages in just 1 month, and NPC or not, his actions threaten to sabotage their entire mission. Michael furiously points out that the madman is using actual players as lab rats for his experiments. He urges them to act fast, demanding they put a massive bounty on Gonzalez's head to drag him in. The monarch recalls the moment they first tracked down the hybrid laboratory. Sang-Huk demands the exact coordinates, but the informant playfully reminds him that high-tier intel does not come cheap. Smiling, she offers a special discount, but Sang-Huk pays her back with a sudden, brutal strike. He slams the imposter to the floor, instantly revealing this person is not Jay at all. The disguised spy groans, admitting he thought his cover was flawless, but apparently nobody can escape the monarch's eyes. He sneers, suggesting he would love to turn the monarch into a test subject, but Sang-Huk draws his blade, declaring the freak needs to be deleted permanently. Our main character ponders his next move. A familiar voice rings out, teasing him for arriving way ahead of schedule. Jay asks if her photo looks good, but Sang-Huk cuts straight to the chase, demanding Gonzalez's location. She admits they are still tracking him, but since the first hybrid popped up in Japan, she bets the crazy doctor is hiding out there. The monarch considers this carefully. He requests a direct line to Hagawa Ryota. Over in Tokyo, the master is notified of an urgent incoming call routed straight from the infamous Dark Chamber of Commerce. An elite member of the Ghost Sword Forest Guild stares at the ringing phone before picking up. Sang-Huk does not waste any breath, immediately asking if he knows the whereabouts of Edgar Gonzalez. Recognizing the voice, Ryota asks if it is the legendary monarch, but the masked man skips the small talk. He demands to know if Ryota is harboring the scientist in Japan. Pressed for time, Sang-Huk asks again, forcing a nervous Ryota to deny everything. Before cutting the line, the monarch coldly warns that he is coming to pay him a visit, leaving Ryota completely speechless. Back at the base, Jay asks if he is actually flying to Japan, and he simply nods. Sang-Huk explains he has some personal business to handle over there anyway. Just like that, he lands in Tokyo, heading straight to a hidden workshop. He greets Kurihara Ayane, noting it has been a long time since their last meeting. While Eternal World is full of tattoo artists who can imbue special buffs into players, most rely on basic magic ink. Ayane is different. She uses raw monster fluid, giving her custom inkwork incredibly rare, game-changing passive abilities. She smirks, asking what business the famous masked ruler could possibly have with her. He blunt forces the question, asking why she has been ignoring his invitations to join his elite guild. Ayane admits she is highly honored to be scouted by the guild leader himself. Sang-Huk shrugs, telling her to name her price, because whatever rare item she needs, he will personally secure it. She admits it is a tempting offer, but her crafting recipes require highly restricted materials. Plus, being Japanese, joining his guild might spark a massive political backlash from the public. When he asks if this is a flat rejection, she simply hesitates. Pointing out that he is essentially asking her to turn her back on her homeland, she challenges him to offer something truly irresistible. Sang-Huk cracks a smile, ready to drop a deal she cannot possibly refuse. The monarch offers her the legendary fluid of the Demon King Bale, which is exactly what she wanted. Meanwhile, back on the busy streets of Tokyo, peaceful citizens are suddenly frozen in place by a horrifying, unnatural shriek. Suddenly, terrifying hybrid beasts materialize, triggering massive panic as the crowd flees. Ryota is the only one who stands his ground, calmly analyzing the threat in front of him. The abominations quickly lunge at him. Ryota effortlessly dodges a blazing energy blast and slips out of a deadly grab, forcing the monster to continuously swing its heavy forearms in frustration. Leaping backward, Ryota easily creates some distance. He catches the beast completely off guard with a series of blinding sword strikes, slicing it to ribbons in seconds. A clean, effortless victory over the hybrid. Perched on a nearby building, Gonzalez watches the unfolding chaos with a sinister grin. Seeing the Phantom Swordsman active and ready to play makes him feel like it is a beautiful day in Japan. Outside his private residence, elite security guards stand on maximum alert. The front door is slid open, revealing Ryota deep in meditation. He slowly opens his eyes to greet his incoming visitor. Sang-Huk has arrived, keeping his promise from the call. The masked monarch locks eyes with him, noting this is their very first face-to-face meeting. Fresh tea is poured, and Ryota quietly blows on the rising steam. He looks up, finding the silent monarch still intensely staring. Ryota asks if he dislikes tea, which is a shame since it is a premium brew. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Sang-Huk cuts right to the chase, demanding updates on the interbreeder. Ryota hesitates, a heavy silence falling over them, before admitting they are still searching for him. The monarch points out that Gonzalez is hiding right under their noses, yet Ryota has nothing. Expressing deep disappointment in the Sword Ghost Guild, he pressures him. Ryota can only apologize, explaining he lacks the massive backing of the Dark Chamber of Commerce that the monarch enjoys. With no other option, Sang-Huk decides to give him a hand. He explains that dungeon beasts carry a unique type of mana from the Yin dimension. However, if this dimension becomes oversaturated, it triggers a catastrophic explosion known as an overflow. Ryota immediately senses the danger. He asks why the masked monarch is sharing this, and Sang-Huk reveals an impossible-to-clear dungeon has suddenly materialized right next to the Emperor's Grand Palace. Stunned by this, he asks if he means Harda's playground. Sang-Huk delivers a cold ultimatum: 3 days to deliver the interbreeder, or face consequences worse than he can imagine. This threat leaves Ryota sweating. Meanwhile, across the city, a lavish awards ceremony is underway. The elderly politician is soaking up the spotlight. Suddenly, a voice calls out to the congressman, offering warm congratulations on his outstanding legislator award. The old man expresses his gratitude, promising to work even harder to serve the people who voted for him. Right then, his bodyguard interrupts, reminding him of his next scheduled meeting. They slip away from the banquet and head straight down to the parking garage. Now pay attention here because things are about to shift. Something catches the politician's eye as someone approaches. During the drive, he learns the masked monarch has arrived, but the clever congressman already anticipated this. Ryota insists they must eliminate the interbreeder right away, warning that the monarch could trigger a devastating overflow in Harda. Dismissing the threat, the congressman chuckles at Ryota's anxiety. He completely doubts the player's ability to trigger an overflow, insisting they shouldn't bend to the masked man's demands, but Ryota remains deeply unsettled. He declares that if the politician won't handle the interbreeder, he will take care of it himself. Unbothered, the old man asks if he has forgotten the real purpose of their alliance. The congressman claims the country is too outdated to embrace this new generation. He notes they live in an age where a single swordsman can capture the world's attention, questioning how long they must hold themselves back to protect weaklings. But Ryota fires back, arguing that utilizing the interbreeder is a mistake. There are alternative paths, especially since the old man's ultimate goal was to surpass the masked monarch. The politician reveals that the interbreeder promised to deal with the masked guy personally. Because of this reassurance, he urges the guild master to relax and let things play out. With a smug smile, the congressman adds that rising through the political ranks will secure both their futures. He tells the player to simply play his part. Silenced, Ryota can only watch as their journey continues. The 3-day deadline finally expires. Scores of elite guards are stationed across the grounds, fully prepared to defend their master. Ryota stands among them, waiting in tense silence. Deep anxiety grips him. He flashes back to his conversation with the old politician, who confidently assured him everything would play out in their favor. The congressman plotted to pin any potential overflow entirely on the monarch, ordering Ryota to guard the palace gates. When the swordsman asked about the safety of innocent citizens, the old man heartlessly told him to ignore them. He claimed a higher casualty rate would ensure a far worse punishment for the masked monarch. This cold calculation disgusted Ryota. Suddenly, his phone vibrates, making him jump as he scrambles to answer it. An unidentified caller ID flashes on the screen, instantly raising his suspicion. He decides to let it ring out. Once the screen goes dark, Ryota turns his gaze toward the bizarre, towering structure. It stands out unnaturally against the modern skyline. Suddenly, violent tremors shake the ground. Ryota realizes instantly that the masked monarch has made his move as terrifying beasts begin to swarm. These colossal, ferocious chimeras boast 3 heads, a lion, a snake, and a goat complete with massive wings that make them nightmare fuel. From a nearby high-rise, Sang-Huk and Aya witness the chaos. Let's pause here because we both know this is a massive gamble. The tattoo artist asks if he is truly ready for the political storm this will trigger. The monarch coldly replies that they ignored his warnings, and now they must pay. Understanding an overflow is actually quite simple. It is a phenomenon triggered when dungeon monsters accumulate too much mana, which is exactly why hunters must constantly clear these zones. With this knowledge, a skilled player can trigger an overflow artificially, By applying a mana-boosting tattoo to the Night Witch just like the one she designed, it amplifies Lilith's power, causing the dungeon to violently rupture. Onlookers witness the terrifying explosion firsthand, sending a wave of absolute panic through the crowd as a swarm of winged chimeras erupts into the sky. This brilliant trick forces an overflow even with a small monster population. Terrified citizens scream and scatter in all directions, while Ryota watches the destruction unfold from afar. As terrified crowds rush past him, Ryota realizes exactly who is behind this disaster. Right then, his phone rings with a call from the congressman. Moriyasu Yasuhito gleefully notes that the overflow is happening exactly as predicted. When Ryota tries to warn him about the endangered citizens, the ruthless politician brushes it off, seeing the casualties merely as political leverage. He tells Ryota to view the victims as necessary sacrifices for their bright future. Disgusted, the swordsman can only listen as massive explosions tear through nearby skyscrapers. Panicked citizens stampede in a desperate bid for survival, knocking a helpless woman to the cold pavement. Before she can even scramble to her feet, a feral beast looms directly behind her. She screams, expecting the worst, but salvation arrives. A commanding voice rings out, and Ryota orders his guild to defend the citizens. Drawing their blades, the warriors charge forward to clash with the chimeras. Despite being outnumbered, the guild fights relentlessly, slicing off one monster head at a time. A beast lunges to catch Ryota off guard, but the legendary swordsman is far too quick and deadly. He obliterates the threat effortlessly. Instantly, his phone starts buzzing again, and this time, the caller is the masked monarch. Ryota answers, stating their business is done. But Sang-Huk catches him off guard by offering a second chance. All the swordsman needs to do is reveal the interbreeder's location. A chimera attempts a sneak attack from behind, but Ryota reacts instantly, slicing it apart. He agrees to text the coordinates, but Sang-Huk demands one more thing, advising the swordsman to sever ties with the corrupt mastermind pulling the strings. Suddenly, one of his subordinates yells out. The chimeras are retreating back into the dungeon abyss, leaving the entire squad stunned by this sudden turn of events. Meanwhile, Sang-Huk has his hands full and relies on Ayena's assistance. She praises his incredible invisibility cloak, and he casually offers her one from his vast stash, delighting her. The skilled tattoo artist realizes exactly why he recruited her. By utilizing the Night Witches to lull the chimeras to sleep, he needs her to brand them with a controlled tattoo, framing the masked monarch for the entire overflow crisis. Sang-Huk explains that while he could easily trigger a disaster, he refuses to allow innocent lives to be lost. Ayane admits she never expected him to possess such a deep sense of justice. Curious, she asks what he meant about the mastermind. She wonders if some powerful shadow figure is pulling the strings behind the ghost swordsman. Sang-Huk knows everything, having monitored and photographed the guild's secret meetings with the congressman. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you are going to want to see how this plays out. All right, you and I are about to see if a massive diplomatic crisis breaks out. Jay warns him this is dangerous, but Sang-Huk has a simple way out. He decides to let Japan deal with its own mess. As the memory fades, Sang-Huk snaps back to reality, telling Ayana it is none of her business. The village is completely deserted, lights flickering as people hide in fear. This is where the mad scientist Gonzalez cooks up his freakish hybrid monsters in his secret lab. Suddenly, Gonzalez senses a presence. He turns with a twisted grin, saying it has been far too long, thrilled to face the legendary masked monarch, whose eyes are burning with absolute fury. Sang-Huk stares down the crazy researcher. He demands to know why the man did not choose a quiet life in the real world. Gonzalez just shrugs, claiming he tried. The scientist proudly invites them to check out his grim creations. Sang-Huk calls him a lunatic, draws his blade, and vows to end him without a shred of remorse. Gonzalez is completely unfazed by the threat. He calmly pulls out a cigar and lights it, acting as if he does not have a deadly sword pointed at his throat. With a sigh of mock regret, he says he wanted to leave more masterpieces behind, telling the masked warrior not to look so disappointed. Pulling a gun, Gonzalez laughs and says another version of him will soon take his place. The monarch lunges to stop him, but the scientist does not care. Before anyone can react, he pulls the trigger, leaving them utterly stunned. Sang-Huk is furious. Meanwhile, news explodes online about a chaotic dungeon overflow at Hardy's playground in the heart of Tokyo. Now, pay attention here because this peaceful silence is broken by a bloody stain on the floor. The corrupt congressman collapses to the ground, taking his final breath. Soon, his sudden death is splashed all over the front pages. Ryoa reads the breaking news with a triumphant smirk on his face. Back in Korea, Sang-Huk lands at the airport and instantly starts scanning the crowd for his contact. Jay is waiting, waving to catch his eye. She immediately brings up the congressman, noting that while the media calls it suicide, she does not buy it at all. The monarch calls it divine justice, but Sang-Huk reveals that Gonzalez muttered some bizarre last words before dying. The lunatic claimed a brand new clone would replace him. Jay has no clue what that means, so Sang-Huk orders her to track his recent movements, promising to pay whatever she wants. She agrees but senses there is a deeper motive at play. That is when the monarch admits he is actually hunting for a specific target. Jay says finding him will be easy once she knows the name. Sang-Huk wants the mad alchemist. Meanwhile, in a dark Hong Kong alley, an illegal black market deal is going down. The dealer promises this illegal monster potion boosts strength and focus without any drawback, offering a free trial if the customer doubts its raw power. Suddenly, a voice interrupts the deal. Sang-Huk steps up with a cold smile and asks why he cannot buy a bottle too. The dealer panics, reaching into his bag while cursing his terrible luck. He drops a smoke bomb, blinding the monarch, and bolts down the street. Convinced he is running from a cop, he flees in absolute terror, having no clue how the guy tracked him. Realizing his pursuer is Korean, the man gasps as Sang-Huk suddenly appears right behind him, pushing him to run even faster. Sang-Huk tells him to relax and asks if he really does not recognize him, but the terrified dealer screams, desperately throwing random boxes at him. The monarch effortlessly dodges the heavy crates, but one potion shatters, releasing a massive cloud of toxic fumes. The dealer did not mean to kill him, but Sang-Huk instantly appears behind him, completely unharmed. I know what you're thinking, put the mask on already. And yep, Sang-Huk does exactly that. He slides the iconic mask over his face, asking the question one more time. The monarch greets the mad alchemist, who drops his jaw as he finally realizes who he is dealing with. Out at sea, military officers stare in absolute disbelief. A massive uncharted island has materialized out of nowhere, prompting the captain to frantically call the command center. A panicked voice screams that the landmass is actually moving. Meanwhile, Sang-Huk drops 200 blue carrots, asking for 200 potions by tonight, leaving the alchemist shell-shocked. The alchemy skill level jumps to 100, then rapidly hits 300. Sang-Huk demands iron-hide potions, asking for the recipe. With non-stop grinding, the skill level reaches 500. Sang-Huk demands earth potions, corruption mixtures, mana refills, and delivers raw ingredients for a batch of fierce attack formulas. The man finally hits max level, unlocking the legendary Mad Alchemist title, but he complains that he worked like a literal slave for 3 straight years. He groans about having no food or sleep, forced to brew potions day and night. Sang-Huk counters, asking if peddling illegal corpse elixirs is any better, but the man defends himself, saying he had to survive. Their bickering causes a flight attendant to politely ask them to keep it down. On landing, the alchemist warns that if the pay is lousy, he is heading straight back home. Sang-Huk tells him to relax. As they walk through the lobby, a familiar voice calls out. It is Sang-Min, waiting to greet them. Sang-Huk introduces Michael Chang to his younger brother. The kid is amazed, unable to believe someone can brew 100 potions daily. The alchemist sighs, saying it is all because of his brutal boss. Sang-Min asks if he has checked the latest news yet, shocked his brother is totally out of the loop. On screen, reports show high-level players gathering from all over. Word has spread that this legendary island suddenly appeared in the Pacific, mirroring the exact in-game event, though nobody knows how. Gamers call it the Festival of the Decade. Sang-Huk realizes this is the mysterious island that appears briefly once every 10 years before vanishing after 30 days. Since the entire island is a massive dungeon, players can collect points to buy legendary tier gear or higher from the exclusive merchant NPCs residing there. This is the ultimate event for Eternal World players, causing a massive rush. Nobody can believe this digital island actually materialized in the real world. A player wonders if the mythical Sky Castle might descend next. Manuel thinks it is highly likely, sending a wave of excitement through the community. Ian calls it the ultimate festival, but when the Crimson Witch asks which dungeon they should conquer first, he admits he just wants to chill. Jay tells him to take this seriously, but he notes she has already made up her mind. The witch smiles, declaring that in a world ruled by raw strength, this island is the perfect war zone for an epic battle. Inside the packed arena, crowds cheer as a challenger fights waves of dangerous beasts, with the countdown clock rapidly ticking down. And that's where we leave it with high scores, heavy hype, and a massive war looming. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. All right, you and I are diving right into the action, starting with some loudmouths getting shut up by Luo. She is absolutely gorgeous, but trust me, she is terrifying. It does not take them long to recognize the Guild Master of 9 Dragons. She holds the legendary 23-round record, but suddenly, one of the kids spots something else. He realizes her record is in serious danger because the Sun Knight is up next. With his usual deadpan stare, memories of a brutal past battle in Eternal World start rushing back. Richard Polson was left utterly broken after that devastating clash, watching his partner lose his life. But since that dark day, he has grown impossibly strong. The moment the round begins, a roaring beast charges him, only to get sliced clean in half with a single strike. Richard quickly scans the area, easily obliterating any other monster foolish enough to step up. One beast tries to ambush him from behind, but he spins and slams right into the massive red monster. An entire squad of armed orcs rushes in, swinging at thin air. That is because the knight leaped high into the air, building massive momentum before unleashing his Blade of the Sun skill. It completely wipes out the surrounding horde, clearing round 1 easily. Without a second of rest, the gates fly open for round 2. Richard just stands his ground, completely ready to demolish whatever walks through next. He remembers the rumors that the Masked Monarch holds the legendary 29-round record, and he is determined to smash it. Showing zero mercy, he blazes through round 3, hits round 8, and shocks the entire crowd by reaching round 15. Still radiating raw energy, he pushes all the way to round 21. The arena erupts in cheers, except for Luo, who is clearly annoyed that her record is about to get wrecked. She realizes he must have studied the Masked Monarch closely. Activating the Sun's blessing, Richard barely survives round 28. He is completely exhausted, and there are still 10 minutes left on the clock. Now pay attention here, because as he enters round 29 to break the record, a mysterious knight steps into the arena. The crowd instantly senses something familiar about this guy. A voice behind them reveals that this is the captain of the Holy Knights of the Great God. He stands at the absolute pinnacle, above all 13 orders of Rosalia, the feared Holy Executioner, Adilio. He is the absolute strongest warrior on the island, undefeated even by the Masked Monarch. Now, Richard stands face to face with Adilio, though the Golden Knight is already running on fumes. Reaching deep into his armor, he pulls out a glowing vial filled with red liquid and downs it instantly. A massive, radiant golden aura explodes all around him. Richard is instantly back in the game, but before he can even breathe, the saint lunges. The knight raises his sword to defend, but Adilio is just on another level. The sheer impact blasts Richard backward, forcing him to dig in his heels. Suddenly, Adilio teleports right behind him. His executioner blade is centimeters from Richard's neck, sending shockwaves through the arena. Adilio expects a clean strike, but is shocked to find Richard barely parrying with his sword. Holding his defense with everything he has, Richard somehow slips away and dodges. Adilio effortlessly blocks the counter with his shield, while the entire crowd watches in dead silence. Even Michael looks incredibly tense, keeping his eyes glued to the action. The Holy Executioner is relentless, and Richard is desperately dodging. Knowing he is outmatched, he reaches back into his pocket. He rips open a high-value scroll, instantly boosting his strength, health, and agility by 5 points. It is a massive temporary upgrade, but Adilio's shield is still blocking every single attack. Richard knows his opponent drops his guard right before striking. He has exactly one shot to surpass the Masked Monarch, and he will risk everything. They clash, triggering a massive explosion of sand. Dust covers the arena, but Michael keeps his eyes locked. As the smoke clears, Richard is revealed, completely exhausted and gasping for air, but unbelievably still on his feet. But something is seriously wrong. His vision fades, and the knight suddenly collapses. To make things worse, Adilio is still standing, completely unharmed. Just like that, the run is over. Round 29 is a fail. The boys are in total disbelief that he just passed out. They figure his body collapsed from mixing the scroll with that red potion, which is a tragedy since he was so close. Medics rush in to carry him out, clearing the stage. Now, you and I both know who is up next. The Masked Monarch steps up, sending chills straight through the crowd as they prepare for an absolute masterclass. No one saw this coming. As round 1 kicks off, some players decide to check out the festival market instead. Ayani is browsing when a voice suddenly asks if she is buying anything. It is Sang-min, the Sunset Swordsman, and she is shocked by his fluent Japanese. He explains he used an alias from his brother for secrecy and actually studied the language. Ayani asks about the rest of the crew, and he explains they are farming points. Su-chan and Butcher are grinding the lava dungeon, while Michael headed straight for the casino. Ayani notes that everyone seems to be enjoying themselves, and Sang-min agrees that they should exploit every benefit this mysterious island offers. With enough points, you can score tons of limited edition rare items. Sang-min asks if she has her eye on anything, but she explains she is not a combat player. Since the monarch has everything covered, she is just here to relax. The Sunset Swordsman then invites her to watch the massive fight alongside him. She asks if it is really that exciting, and he guarantees it is the ultimate main event. Meanwhile, back in the medical tent, a battered Richard slowly begins to regain consciousness. Despite his massive injuries, he forces himself up, deeply confused and trying to piece together exactly how he ended up in the infirmary. Realizing he simply blacked out from the sheer physical strain, a small creature appears behind him. It notes he is awake and awards him 3,240 points. It explains he can spend them at the event shops, but Richard ignores the creature entirely, hearing a strange, thunderous noise echoing from the direction of the main arena. Richard is completely stunned by what greets him. The masked monarch is dominating the field, but what really blows his mind is seeing the legendary Adilio lying defeated on the dirt. The monarch clears round 29, immediately triggering the final stage where a giant beast attacks. This monster is twice the size of Adilio, and impossibly fast. The monarch lands a brutal blow right to its face, infuriating the beast. It immediately fires a high-intensity laser beam, blasting Sang-Huk straight into the stone wall. But he recovers instantly. Charging back in, he unleashes a relentless barrage of attacks. The arena is covered in thick smoke, leaving the crowd completely blind to the action. Strong shockwaves blast through the spectators' stands. Even Richard is awestruck, realizing the masked monarch is operating on a completely different dimension. The massive beast senses imminent danger. The monarch goes all in, preparing to unleash his devastating Dragon Blade skill after a very long time. The masked monarch dashes straight through the beast, instantly ending the final round as the stadium goes absolutely wild. Sang-Huk pushed past his limits, but before he can celebrate, a dark mark warps him away. A voice welcomes the hero of Mystery Island, and trust me, you and I are about to see him claim his ultimate reward. Let's dive into this wild story. A strange messenger hands Sang-Huk a mysterious book. The catch, our hero can only choose a single item. He's bound by that rule. Flipping through the pages with extreme caution, Sang-Huk searches until a legendary item grabs his attention, the Transcendence Potion. All right, you and I are jumping right back in as he claims his prize. The stranger smiles, supporting the choice, and a powerful potion appears. Sang-Huk downs it instantly. The magic takes hold immediately as a brilliant light erupts from his chest. Shunted through a dimensional rift, Sang-Huk finds himself right back on the battlefield, surrounded by cheering crowds celebrating his victory. But something feels entirely different. He whips around to inspect his stats, and his eyes widen in absolute disbelief. His level just leaped all the way to 301. He grins, finally shattering the absolute level cap. Meanwhile, far away in a Russian city, a mysterious painter works meticulously on a new canvas, carefully brushing red paint over delicate flowers. Deep in concentration, he completes the masterpiece. Suddenly, a bolt of pure lightning strikes the center, exploding the canvas into a million tiny shards. Somehow, he manages to salvage just one piece. He sighs, wondering if this is his ultimate limit. Right then, his phone starts buzzing. He picks it up, instantly suspicious when he sees an incoming international call on the screen. Now we head to a quiet factory in Germany, smoke billowing from its chimneys. Inside, a young woman is hyper-focused on her work, but an unexpected noise suddenly breaks her concentration. She turns toward the sound. Reacting instantly, she slides open a drawer, grabs a hidden pistol, and slips out to investigate. There is definitely an unwanted guest in her workshop. Quietly sneaking around to pinpoint his location, she creeps forward on absolute tiptoes. Catching the intruder completely off guard, she aims her weapon, telling him to freeze and explain his presence right now. With a gun pointed at him, the intruder raises his hands. Shawu admits he should have knocked, but wanted to surprise her. The woman just glares at him. She finally recognizes the friendly blacksmith. Meanwhile, back in Seoul at the masked one's fully completed castle, players are calmly wandering through the majestic, newly built grounds. Pay close attention here, because things are about to get complicated. Rumors fly that the Demon King himself is coming, even though Michael thought our main character already cleared this intense round. The girl scoffs, saying they should never have invited such a crazy bastard. This triggers the alchemist, but she casually threatens his life if he keeps talking. Dinah Kruger reminds him she built that weapon, meaning she knows exactly how to use it. Terrified, Michael wonders how she even sneaked it in, but she shrugs it off. Thankfully, someone cuts in, telling them to save the reunion drama for later. The blacksmith continues, pointing out that when Bale arrives, it will be impossible for the monarch to fight alone. They are definitely going to need some serious backup. Looking completely exhausted, the painter asks if the tattoo artist is around. Chul Wu asks if he means Anna, confirming her location while teasingly wondering if there is some secret romance going on between them. Andre clarifies that both of them work with powerful enchantments. He imprints items while she works on living skin. He believes collaborating and sharing their unique knowledge could lead to an incredible breakthrough. The blacksmith promises to contact her tomorrow, telling the group to let him know if they need any gear for the upcoming battle. Dena admits she wants to understand the monarch's actual plan. Chuowu pauses, then drops a total bombshell. The monarch requested a weapon, leaving all three of them completely speechless. Down at the southern edge of the ANC, a trail of absolute destruction and piles of slain beasts reveal a brutal battle has just ended. Someone is heavily striking the massive golden door. It is the masked monarch, ruthlessly purging everything in his path. Suddenly, a fresh horde of vicious monsters charges forward, brandishing their weapons with deadly intent. Lilith jumps into the fray, using her incredible speed and dark influence to tear through the enemies. She is having the time of her life, while Sang-huk remarks she is eating too much. She playfully insists she needs to grow into a fine lady. In this massive game world, gods and demons rule. This island once held the ruins of a grand ancient civilization. But after the Devil Temple materialized, demon-worshipping cultists took complete control of the entire area. With the locals evacuated to Kalamata, everyone is waiting to see who survives this ultimate clash of light and dark. Right now, Sang-huk and Lilith march forward together. Now, check this out. They stop right in front of a massive goat-headed statue of Asmodeus, the 32nd Demon Lord. Suddenly, Lilith spots a glowing, shiny object. Sang-huk asks to see it, but she playfully hides it away. He assures her he has no intention of stealing her treasure, promising to return it immediately after taking a quick look at the item. She hesitantly hands it over. He instantly recognizes the rare artifact, boasting 100 attractiveness points and vastly boosting the success rate of special skills. Though it has a holy name, its actual level is surprisingly low. Still, to Lilith, this is an absolute treasure. He gently returns the item, bringing a massive smile to her face. The girl eagerly puts on the necklace, and the magical gem begins to glow warmly. Seeing her pure joy, even our stoic monarch smiles, inviting her along for an exciting, fun little treasure hunt. Suddenly, hordes of shrieking monsters ambush them, but they stand absolutely no chance against our overpowered protagonist, while Lilith happily treats the brutal clash like a fun game. She darts around like a lightning bolt, knocking them down while he shreds them into fine pieces. Lilith eagerly asks when they will find more loot, but Sang-huk is surprised they have not found any yet. She starts getting bored, but the masked hero tells her to be patient. Suddenly, he senses something highly unusual up ahead. Treading carefully, he discovers a hidden, dark corridor. Realizing this is the place, he asks Lilith if she wants to wait behind, but she insists on tag-teaming the danger. As he walks, the flying witch princess hovers beside him. Looking at the ominous statues lining the walls, he notes they represent the 72 demon lords, finding the display deeply unsettling. An eerie sound echoes, putting them both on high alert. At the end of the hall, several dark, menacing figures clad in heavy armor slowly emerge from the shadows. He identifies them as fallen knights who bartered away their souls for power. Undeterred, he coldly dares them to charge at him all at once. With a single, devastating sweep of his blade, he cleaves through the front line. Two enemies attempt a surprise pincer attack from behind, but our hero easily leaps over them, thoroughly enraged as he systematically dissects them with his sword. Meanwhile, Lilith watches safely from the sidelines, absolutely thrilled by the violent display. Sang-huk remains completely locked in, landing flawless, heavy strikes. Dashing through their ranks, he delivers lightning-fast slashes that shred the soulless knights, detonating them in a final, massive explosion. With the trash cleared, he heads upstairs to find the boss. Standing at the top is the High Priest Tuluna. Suddenly, the ancient stone statues in the hallway begin to grind to life. Instantly pulling a massive hammer from his inventory space, our protagonist wastes no time crushing them back into dust. The High Priest watches from above, immediately preparing to retaliate. He raises his staff, summoning dark, crackling energy spheres overhead before launching them downward. Sang-huk reacts instantly as the projectiles detonate in a massive explosion. The priest waits for the smoke to clear, but his confidence quickly shatters. Sang-huk materializes directly behind him, coldly whispering that it is a shame they must say goodbye so soon. And that's where we leave it for today. Our hero easily ends the priest, sending him rolling down the stairs. What do you think he'll conquer next on his epic journey? Alright, you and I are diving back into this crazy journey with Luna's Divinity, a legendary item that boosts shortcut skills. Perfect for a high priest, Sang-huk immediately hands it over to Lilith. The girl equips it right away, triggering an epic new transformation. Grinning, she cheers that she feels absolutely amazing. Sang-huk is glad she loves it, and she proudly declares her master is the absolute best. Suddenly, a system screen pops up for our masked main character. His level finally jumps to 302, a milestone that has taken so long he literally feels like crying. Sang-Huk announces their work here is done and it is time to head home. Lilith groans, asking if that means another long ride on ships and planes, making him wonder if she has a problem with that. She asks why they would bother when there is a much faster option, leaving him completely baffled. Her mischievous smile instantly makes him suspicious. She asks if he is ready to go, but Sang-Huk still has no idea what she is planning. Before he can even process it, the scenery shifts. He looks around in total shock, realizing they have instantly teleported right back to his own dark castle. While Sang-Huk tries to wrap his head around this, Lilith just giggles at her little prank. Stunned, he demands to know how the princess pulled this off, asking if she can literally teleport back whenever she wants. Lilith nods, explaining that since this castle is the very source of her power, she can easily warp back here from absolutely anywhere in the world. Highly impressed, the masked monarch asks why she kept this a secret. She casually replies that he never bothered to ask, promising no more surprises. He sighs, wondering what other hidden tricks she is keeping from him. The princess explains that as a night witch, she can put people to sleep and enter their dreams, which he already knew. But then she drops a bombshell. She can actually physically manifest wherever that sleeping person is. She asks for just a few moments to demonstrate. 10 minutes later, Richard suddenly materializes inside the castle, his face completely flushed red like a tomato from utter confusion. Now pay attention here. While Richard panics, Sang-Huk demands an explanation. Lilith explains she simply invaded the blonde knight's dream and dragged him back with her. He asks if she can do this to strangers, but she shakes her head. He asks why she specifically dragged this knight over, and Lilith answers that it was just the easiest way to show him. Richard finally snaps, cutting in to ask if the princess literally just kidnapped him from his bed. The knight demands answers, but Sang-Huk is too busy asking if Lilith can pull him into other people's dreams too. She admits she has never tried it before, but playfully asks if he wants to give it a shot. His target of choice is Chul-Wu. Meanwhile, all this casual brainstorming is driving the captured knight insane. Losing his patience, Richard screams, demanding to know what the hell they are doing. He demands to know why he was dragged from his home. To his shock, Sang-Huk offers to return all the weapons confiscated from the Absolute Guild. The only condition? He must promise to keep everything he saw a total secret. Richard gasps, asking if he is actually serious. Sang-Huk calmly nods, but warns him that terms still apply. He coldly asks the knight if he fully understands the consequences of breaking that promise. Cut to the able Hengha Tower in China, its massive structure creaking from within. An intense battle is raging between top players and vicious monsters. The creatures are overwhelming, but the players are holding their ground. Outside, onlookers watch in suspense. A massive explosion erupts, sending a player flying through the air. He screams in absolute despair as he plummets, and there is absolutely nothing anyone can do to save him. He crashes to his death right in front of the watching troops. The heartless captain simply scoffs, calling those men weak fools, before coldly commanding the next squad to march straight into the meat grinder. He barks that they are out of time and need to wipe out the beasts immediately. Soon, the news broadcasts a major update. China has successfully conquered Ale Tower, a dungeon once deemed impossible to raid, clearing 8 similar high-tier zones this month alone. Their force seems unstoppable, backed entirely by the state, officially making China the #1 nation in conquering these deadly, invadable dungeons. You and I both know there is always a catch with this kind of rapid progress. Meanwhile, in China's superhuman management department, Director Jiang Li-Fang quietly stares at a mysterious vial in his hand. He questions if this liquid can truly cure a dying man. His assistant confirms, revealing they tested it on a patient with late-stage cancer, who then made a complete, miraculous recovery. Jiang is amazed, even though it looks like ordinary soda. He asks about their business deals, and is told the United States offered to buy 320 potions for $3 billion each, a price Jiang finds highly acceptable. The assistant notes they have heavily injured players, including elite executives from the Nine Dragons Guild. Jiang agrees to supply the potions, but with a greedy twist. He demands a hiked price of $3.5 billion each. Over 2,500 Chinese players have been wiped out so far. That reality infuriates Butcher, as the media only reports their propaganda victories. Guillotine points out the nightmare is far from over, while Chul-Wu mutters how much he hates politics, since players always end up as collateral damage. Song-Min adds they are actively turning away low-level players who lack gear. She points out that half of all Eternal World users are Chinese, meaning the government has an endless supply of players and treats their lives as completely disposable. Sang-Huk silently listens to his allies as the meeting wraps up. Once alone, he summons Lilith, asking if she remembers the woman who visited his castle recently. Lilith shrugs, noting that a lot of random people have passed through here. Sang-Huk specifies he means the one with dark hair and striking dark eyes. Meanwhile, in another intense skirmish, Lu quietly watches her forces clash in brutal combat. Clad in her armor, she receives a message to meet in 2 days at the Valley of Tears at 7 a.m. Back in her room, Lu stares at the screen, deeply regretting ever agreeing to their shady proposal. Suddenly, a strange sensation washes over her. Lu feels an overwhelming wave of drowsiness, snapping back awake moments later, wondering if she had somehow drifted off. Blaming her exhaustion, she tries to shake it off, but quickly realizes something is terribly wrong. Whipping around, she finds herself face to face with the masked monarch. Terrified, she asks how he broke in, but he brushes it aside. He hopes the current chaos in China is not what the Nine Dragons Guild truly desires. After a brief silence, she confesses that a shadowy superhuman department is pulling the strings. Sang-Huk asks if they completely control the players, and she nods. Lu explains that by the time she returned to the real world, this department had already seized absolute control over everyone. Intrigued, our masked main character listens closely. Lu explains that once her guild elites returned, they were cornered with an offer she could not refuse to lead the state's massive dungeon-clearing campaign. In exchange, they were promised first pick of the loot. Consequently, the government began throwing every single player they could find straight into the dungeons. But instead, they seized every piece of legendary gear and forced total compliance from China's player base. Sighing, she admits that their own greed led them into this trap, leaving Sang-Huk deep in thought. The masked leader points out that her faction is supposedly comprised of the nation's absolute strongest guilds, prompting him to ask a crucial question. But before he can speak, Lu explains that with 9 different leaders, constant infighting paralyzed every major decision, leaving her completely powerless. She reveals that, in the end, the department staged a hostile takeover, ruthlessly eliminating anyone who dared to stand in their way. Just like that, the Nine Dragons Alliance collapsed before she could act. Realizing how twisted this situation is, Sang-Huk demands to know exactly which corrupt officials are running the show, eager to punish every single one. Meanwhile, outside the building, a sleek car pulls up and the doors swing open. A man named Sang steps out, sporting a wicked, arrogant grin that matches the expressions of his heavily armed men. But as they plot, you and I can see they are already being watched. High above on the rooftop, Sang-Huk stands alongside Lilith, a cold, calculating look in his eyes. A high-stakes meeting begins, with the boss demanding if they salvaged any high-value loot. His subordinates report no super rare items were recovered, only decent gear, prompting him to snap that this is the cost of raiding low-level trash dungeons. All right, you and I are starting with Sang ordering his crew to contact the Nine Dragons Guild for dungeon raids when suddenly, a brutal hit strikes. A bald guy collapses instantly, knocked out cold, putting Zhang on high alert. Looking around, he realizes his entire crew has been wiped out the same way. He desperately screams for them to stand up. The leader keeps screaming, demanding to know what is happening. Suddenly, sheer terror freezes him. Before he can even react, he is violently hurled through the air. Sang crashes down, completely knocked out. His face is swollen red from that devastating strike. Sang-Huk shows zero mercy, declaring it is time for the scumbag to pay for his crimes. The sudden shouting jolts the man awake, terrified. All his men are trapped there with him. Zhang demands to know what is going on, but nobody has answers. They just woke up here. They search for an exit, but find absolutely nothing. Suddenly, a bizarre noise echoes. John gets furious as he realizes where they are, screaming at their unseen captor for daring to humiliate him like this. He bellows for his enemy to kneel and beg for forgiveness or get torn to shreds. Of course, nobody shows up. But the bald lackey suddenly warns that he hears something approaching from the shadows. John snaps, asking where the sound is coming from. Suddenly, zap. A razor-sharp energy slice grazes his face, leaving a bloody gash, while his subordinate gets sliced even worse. He completely loses his mind. Now, watch closely, because a deafening roar shakes the entire cavern. Savage, bloodthirsty werewolves emerge from the darkness, sending the group into a state of pure, screaming panic. These beasts unleash absolute carnage, ripping flesh with razor claws and crushing bones with massive fangs. It is an all-out slaughter. The werewolves show zero mercy to their screaming prey. Zhang watches the horror unfold, completely frozen in shock. He tries to run, but a massive beast is already towering behind him. He knows he is finished. Seconds later, he is torn to shreds. While a bloody massacre unfolds inside the dungeon, the outside world is dead silent. Standing beneath the glowing full moon, Sang-Huk watches with a cold, completely indifferent expression. He sincerely hopes those scumbags feel a fraction of the terror and despair they caused innocent players to suffer. And with that, Sang-Huk bids a cold farewell to those trash. Meanwhile, a massive monster overflow is detected in Tian Square in Beijing, China. Emergency alarms blare, ordering citizens to evacuate to shelters immediately as beasts run wild in the streets. Hordes of different monsters flood the plaza. Suddenly, a female player yells, mockingly asking if they enjoyed the fresh air, because their rampage ends right here. Her taunts provoke the beasts, and they charge in a frenzy, but before they can touch her, a massive blast hits them. Luo shields her eyes as smoke fills the air. That devastating attack came from the Vice Guild Master of the Nine Dragons. Ryu offers a brief nod, which Luo quickly returns. The Vice Master rallies the troops, shouting that the hunt has officially begun. Ryu strikes a massive monster straight in the eye. Watching her guild fight bravely, Luo is proud of their courage, but she refuses to sit back. She draws her weapon and leaps into the fray. She courageously raises her sword against the beasts. It has been 10 days since the high-ranking executives of the superhuman department mysteriously vanished, leaving China to suspect an outraged rogue player was behind it. Consequently, the government completely overhauled their policies regarding Eternal World users. Officials moved rapidly, terrified they would be targeted next. Consequently, they chose a new director for the superhuman department, and it was none other than China's most globally influential representative player. They selected Liu Shai Kim, the powerful master of the soul-based Nine Dragons Guild. Word of this massive appointment spreads fast, and for Sang-Huk, this is actually great news. But wait, his younger brother, Sang-Min, overhears this and gets curious, sensing something is very different about our main character. The brothers visit the Hongdae Player department store. Sang-Min is utterly amazed by the sheer volume of powerful weapons and enchanted jewelry on display. He asks what they are doing here, but Sang-Huk explains he is just scouting. He has always been curious about hybrid gear that blends modern technology with Eternal World items. A chime rings as they enter the shop. Sang-Huk asks if they can browse, and the friendly shopkeeper happily welcomes them. Very quickly, a bizarre item catches the monarch's eye. The monarch notices a hair loss remedy infused with a magic potion. Sang-Min chimes in, explaining that this specific brew is insanely popular online because it is 10 times stronger. Still, Sang-Huk thinks 100 million won is a total rip-off. His brother laughs, saying it sells out instantly anyway. Moving on, the monarch asks to see their finest weapon. The merchant proudly presents a high-tech blade crafted by A Electronics in collaboration with the Bureau of Player Management. He boasts that its lightweight, high-tech design makes it far superior to the in-game version. Intrigued, Sang-Huk asks for the price, and the shopkeeper offers a discount rate of 3 billion won. He eagerly asks if Sang-Huk wants it, claiming he will be invincible in any dungeon, but the moment the monarch holds the blade, it immediately snaps in half. Shocked, the shopkeeper demands to know what happened. Sang-Huk casually apologizes, noting that the blade was supposed to be top tier, before handing over his card to pay the full price. Leaving the seller completely baffled, we head back to the Masked One's castle to study dark magic amplification. Andre warns that dark magic is too dangerous, insisting they stick to pure white magic since the two forces do not mix. However, Ayane disagrees, arguing her tattoo spells are already borderline dark arts. Che-Wu explains that is entirely different. She only uses monster fluid to boost the tattoo's conductor effect, but the true strength still comes from her pure mana. Michael realizes they need perfectly harmonious ingredients that will not clash. Suddenly, a brilliant idea strikes him, and he gathers the team to head over to Sang-Huk's office. The sudden burst of noise shatters the monarch's quiet workspace as they barge right in. He remarks they should have knocked, but the blacksmith insists this is way too important. Che-Wu proudly presents a glowing potion. When a curious Sang-Huk asks what it is, they confidently reveal it is a brew that can literally restore life. An actual resurrection potion. Sang-Huk is instantly intrigued. Andre cautions they need more testing, though just 2 drops successfully revive a dead Morin Budo rat. Impressive, Sang-Huk asks if they can mass-produce it. But the blacksmith warns that the required ingredients are incredibly rare. They need massive amounts of dragon fluid, unicorn horn, and phoenix tears. Sang-Huk promises to hunt them all down, while Ayane asks him to inspect a brand new tattoo. Day after day, the group collaborates, combining their legendary skills to forge tangent-slaying swords and paint stat-boosting tattoos, constantly creating groundbreaking gear. After all, these craftsmen are the absolute peak of the Eternal World, capable of miracles. Soon, players everywhere will beg for their gear, and Sang-Huk knows it. They are about to become completely unstoppable. While they build their empire, the masked ones continue clearing dungeons, fighting monsters in Romania, Kazakhstan, and Morocco. Now, let's wrap this up. Reports show the masked ones are already operating across 5 different countries, and trust me, they are just getting started. Meanwhile, the raids are going smoothly. Sang-huk asks about the loot, and Bacha reports that they are selling everything to the local government and top guilds. He checks in on the department store's progress. It started out pretty chaotic, but right now the entire operation is running like clockwork. Sang-huk warns that they are still in the early launch phase, demanding tight inventory control, but Chul-woo suddenly pivots, asking if they can construct a massive new city district. He admits the current location is incredibly inconvenient, and Guillotine points out that electronics only function outside the castle. The monarch completely agrees with the idea. Sang-huk tells him to hire an elite contractor, demanding absolute perfection for the job, even if it costs them an absolute fortune. Next up, Iceflower reveals they received an urgent call from the Russian Emperor's guild before the meeting. The monarch demands details, and she drops a bombshell: the legendary Castle of Chaos has finally materialized. Now, let us head over to Siberia. An elite troop marches deep into the snowy woods, but they freeze in shock upon spotting the giant castle walls. The mustachioed captain boasts that this raid will be a total breeze, expecting a quick victory. But his teammate warns him not to get cocky, reminding him that absolutely nobody has ever conquered it. Suddenly, a player looks up at the darkening sky, completely baffled by a strange shape moving above them. Watch closely because the sky suddenly fills with bloodthirsty gargoyles. Weapons are drawn, and a brutal battle begins echoing deep within the dark forest. On the ground, slain monsters are swallowed by a thick fog. This Castle of Chaos is the ultimate, high-difficulty hunting zone, first appearing in Year 5 of Eternal World and remaining undefeated for 20 whole years. Even the legendary Masked Monarch never beat it. To be precise, he simply chose to ignore it due to its special rules. You see, it was impossible to invade until Year 15, and after that, it simply was not worth the effort. Still, other guilds desperately kept trying because conquering it grants your deepest wish. That legendary reward drove players to march on the castle. The rumors spread like wildfire, while back in a messy room, empty bottles lay scattered everywhere. Slowly, Ian wakes up with a pounding headache, cursing the amount he drank. He looks over in utter confusion at the unfamiliar woman sleeping right beside him. A voice asks if he is done dressing. The masked monarch stands there, warning him to cover up. Ian nearly jumps out of his skin in absolute shock. He figures the monarch is in Russia because of the Castle of Chaos. Sang-huk calmly replies there is no other reason for a busy guy like him to visit. Ian tries to offer him a cup of coffee, but the cold monarch demands their terms instead. Smiling, the blonde guild leader asks for all his powerful weapons back, but Sang-huk instantly shuts him down. Ian keeps pushing, arguing the Castle of Chaos is worth the price, but the monarch replies he will only judge the deal once he sees the actual reward. Curious, Ian asks what he plans to do. The masked warrior declares he will conquer the castle first, then negotiate based on the reward, leaving Ian highly skeptical. I know what you were thinking. Is this a scam? But Sang-huk offers a legendary promise: if he clears the Castle of Chaos, only their guild gets the secret. Ian sips his coffee, weighing the massive offer. Soon after, his private plane touches down at Balayark Airport, and he steps out into the freezing Russian air. Sang-huk is waiting there in casual winter gear. He is warmly greeted by the guild's vice master, who thanks him for coming and asks the legendary monarch to follow him. Sang-huk suddenly asks if his name is Anton, shocking the guide. He then summons his dimensional pocket, reaching into the glowing void to retrieve a hidden item. He strangely apologizes for being so late, baffling Anton even more. But then, Anton's eyes lock onto the object, flashing back to a dark memory in the Demon King's fortress. Back then, a heavily injured Anton stood alone against Murmur, the 51st-ranked demon lord. Behind him, his beloved Alina lay collapsed, gasping for breath as the massive beast roared. Anton feared for his dying partner as a massive explosion ripped through the room. But when the smoke cleared, the couple remained miraculously unharmed. Just as a battered Anton was about to give up, the masked monarch suddenly stood victorious over the defeated Murmur. He turned to the couple, asking if they were okay while offering a vital potion. Anton looked at his partner, but Alina was already gone. Heartbroken, he told the monarch he was fine, adding that escaping now would only delay his own inevitable demise anyway. He had one final wish, though. Reaching into his pocket, Anton pulled out a small golden box, explaining it was meant for proposing to his true love. He begged the young monarch to burn the box alongside Alina's body. With those final, tragic words, his life faded away, leaving Sang-huk staring at the fallen lovers. The box fell and popped open, revealing a ring. Back in the present, the Vice Master holds that very ring, completely speechless that the legendary monarch had actually kept it safe all these years. Sang-huk deeply apologizes, explaining that a sudden wave of monsters forced him to retreat before he could burn the ring with Alina, leaving him with absolutely no other choice. Anton quickly reassures him, expressing deep gratitude for returning the precious ring. Sang-huk smiles, asking if life has treated him well, and Anton happily reveals he is married and expecting a child soon. The surprised monarch offers a late wedding gift, but the Vice Master politely declines. Still, Sang-huk insists on passing a valuable present for the baby. Meanwhile, a grumpy old man looks highly displeased. On the flip side, Ian is relaxing in luxury with beautiful girls, smiling as he takes an important phone call. Under the cover of a foggy night, the group marches silently toward the dark fortress. Anton and Sang-huk lead the way, with the guide confident they will locate the entrance very soon. The monarch bids them farewell for now. Anton smiles warmly, watching the mysterious warrior disappear into the mist while wishing him safety on his dangerous journey. Sang-huk presses forward completely alone, navigating the treacherous path with extreme caution. Unable to see through the thick fog, he searches for a solution. Using his powerful mask, he activates his passive ability, Eyes That See Through Lies, granting him perfect vision to pierce the fog. Following the hidden trail, he suddenly spots the legendary Castle of Chaos looming right ahead. He spots stone gargoyles, wondering if they will awaken the moment he tries to push open the heavy castle doors. Suddenly, a precise arrow shot from Sang-huk's bow strikes a monster, causing it to explode. He wants a real challenge, but with time running out, he bids them a swift farewell. After sweeping those gargoyles aside, he stands right before the massive, heavily armored gates. You and I have to wonder, is he truly ready to step into this nightmare? All right, you and I are diving right back in as Sang-huk opens the door and scans the garden's weird statues, thinking it's just a normal place. He contemplates heading straight into the castle, but spots another door blocking his path. Since it looks locked tight, our main character decides there's only one logical thing left to do. He'll blast it to pieces. The massive energy blast collides with the door, yet it remains completely shut. Even his most powerful move failed to leave a scratch. Sighing, he removes his mask to clear his head, turning around to search for another way in. That's when he spots a glowing red stone embedded in a statue, realizing there's a puzzle to solve. Approaching it, he recognizes Androas, the 72nd Demon Lord, famous for his sheer brute force. Looking closer, he finds rank 71 Dantalion, along with Siri and Marbas holding his weapon. It doesn't stop there. Gamajin is present, and right at the center stands the highest ranking of them all, King Bale. Sang-huk tries to piece the clues together. Surveying the area, he confirms all 72 Demon Lords are represented here. While he doesn't have the exact answer yet, he knows solving this riddle is his only ticket inside. For him, this mysterious castle of chaos is finally getting interesting. He taps one of the glowing red gems, but absolutely nothing happens. To make matters worse, there are 0 other clues in sight. He considers just smashing these relics to pieces, but decides to keep that as a desperate last resort. Suddenly, a strange detail catches his eye. It looks like it's going to be a very long night. Meanwhile, far from this eerie place, the guild members rest inside an inn. Anton relaxes, quietly admiring the glowing ring on his finger. Out of nowhere, the door swings open and Ian walks in wearing a huge grin, praising everyone's hard work. When Anton asks why he's here, the blonde guy jokes that he couldn't just sit around while they did all the heavy lifting. The guild leader asks if things are running smoothly, and his vice master nods. Just then, Ian spots the flashy ring and admits he has never seen such an accessory before. Anton explains it was a personal gift from the masked monarch. Hearing about the epic elixirs and Uriel's divinity, Ian is blown away by the incredible loot and proudly tells Anton he did an amazing job. Wearing a slightly intense expression, the blonde leader says he expects nothing less from his trusted right hand. Meanwhile, back at the Castle of Chaos, Sang-huk sits by the locked door, taking a quick break to eat. Now, pay attention here, because this is where his patience runs out. The statues are scattered randomly, and touching them by rank did absolutely nothing. With no other clues left, he figures it is finally time to start breaking things. He's determined to uncover their secrets, especially since his annoyance is peaking. But right before he strikes, something strange catches his attention, and he freezes. This is a demon statue he doesn't recognize. The pieces finally start falling into place, and he begins counting the stone figures one by one, quickly reaching number 35. He counts past 67 and 68, eventually reaching King Bale at position 73. Hold on. There should only be 72 demon lords. This means there is an extra statue hidden among them, and he just has to find the imposter. Looking closer, he gasps as he realizes one of the statues has completely vanished. The stone beast has snuck up right behind him, preparing to strike, but of course, our main character is way too fast. The monster slams down, completely shattering the stone floor beneath them. Furious that its sneak attack failed, it lets out a deafening roar while Sang-Huk glares, absolutely hating when enemies try to blindside him. The beast turns to launch another desperate strike, but Sang-Huk moves like lightning, utterly obliterating the stone monster into tiny fragments. Taking it out was child's play, but his eyes quickly dart to another shift in the room. The remaining statues begin to grind and move, their embedded red gems glowing in a perfect circle. Unleashing their power, they shoot a combined beam that begins to take shape right above his head. He looks up to see a massive red orb hovering in the air. It fires a concentrated energy beam directly at the locked door, which glows crimson before slowly creaking open. But just as he steps forward, a sudden red flash erupts from the darkness. From the shadows, a monstrous giant paw lunges out and snatches the masked monarch. Even he didn't see this coming as a terrifying roar echoes from the deep abyss. Yanked violently into the darkness, Sang-Huk has no choice but to brace himself as the heavy doors slam shut behind him. Cut to his sunlit room, where warm morning rays pour through an open window, hitting our hero's face and waking him up from his deep slumber. To his surprise, Lilith is sitting right next to him. Noticing her there, the princess warns him that sleeping on such a freezing floor is a great way to catch a cold, leaving him completely baffled by her words. Shaking off his grogginess, he realizes that crazy battle was just a dream. The masked monarch scans the unfamiliar room for clues, freezing when he spots a dark symbol that suggests he might actually be inside the Demon King's castle. Lilith pops up behind him, cheerfully asking about their new surroundings. Startled, Sang-Huk demands to know what she is doing here, but she just happily replies that she missed him too much. Before he can even scold her for following him, look at what is lurking in the shadows. A giant beast rears up behind her. Sang-Huk yells a warning, allowing Lilith to barely dodge as he draws his blade. His eyes widen as a massive snake-like monster slithers rapidly beneath the ground. He narrowly dodges its lethal bite, slicing it down in a single motion, but a massive wave of them suddenly spawns, turning this into a real challenge. Moving with absolute grace, his sword flows through the air, carving the monster waves up like giant noodles. This completely enrages the main snake-headed boss, but Sang-Huk doesn't lose focus, lunging forward to slice straight through the beast. The impact is devastating, leaving the monster utterly shattered by his speed. The giant beast collapses heavily onto the cold floor. Removing his mask, Sang-Huk approaches the carcass and recognizes it as Andrialphus, wondering why on earth the 72nd Demon Lord would be guarding this specific zone. Lilith excitedly asks what this place is, finding the whole dangerous situation incredibly fun. Meanwhile, our hero is deeply troubled, realizing that a legendary Demon Lord shouldn't have been defeated this easily. Suddenly, things begin to make sense, and he deduces this realm is just a replica of the Demon King's fortress. Lilith then points out a strange object resting where the monster fell. The melting remains of the monster fade away, leaving behind a glowing chaos chest. Sang-Huk is stunned, wondering if this drops because they are inside the legendary Castle of Chaos, while Lilith curiously asks what the chest does. He explains that opening it triggers a high-stakes lottery, dropping random items ranging from common junk to insanely rare mythic gear. Though the princess doesn't fully understand the game mechanics, she asks if it's rare, which Sang-Huk happily confirms. Totally distracted, the duo is caught off guard when an explosive boom rattles the entire area. A massive cloud of smoke erupts around them, completely blinding their vision. Sang-Huk braces himself, trying to locate the threat through the haze as a massive, menacing silhouette begins to take shape. It is Dantalion, the 71st Demon Lord. Keeping a completely cool expression, Sang-Huk waits for the beast to charge, effortlessly sidestepping the strike while drawing his deadly blade in one fluid motion. This foe is clearly on another level compared to the last one. The Demon Lord roars, but before the fight can even begin, he suddenly collapses face first onto the ground, leaving our hero utterly speechless. Approaching the body to investigate, he turns to see Lilith proudly puffing her chest, asking if she did great. The defeated boss vanishes into thin air, though this time, no legendary chest drops from the corpse. Chuckling, he reminds her that those drops are incredibly rare anyway, but reassures her that it's fine because confronting these high-ranking lords is still huge progress. Defeating rank 71 and 72 is proof of their growth. But before he can even finish his sentence, a dark presence spawns right behind them, forcing them to spin around and face Seer, Demon Lord 70. They also end up fighting Murmur at 54, Ken at 38, and Saket at 22. Sang-Huk attacks without hesitation, fighting with everything he has until they vanish, leaving no loot. At least he gets Seer-grade gear, boosting defense to 200, wisdom by 15, and agility by 10. But get this, trust me, you and I will want to see if he ever scores another chest. Alright, let's jump right back into the action. Lilith shows off more jewel-covered loot and asks if she looks pretty, but our masked main character completely ignores her. He only cares about his next target as they storm through the castle. With the tiny princess floating right beside him, they suddenly halt. Standing at the top of the grand staircase, sitting arrogantly on his throne like a true conqueror, is Bale. The demon lord has been expecting them. Seeing him triggers a memory for Sang-Huk, a brutal past battle against this monster in Eternal World, which turned out to be nothing but a fake illusion. No wonder the main character looks so dead serious right now. Lilith instantly hides behind him, trembling with pure terror. Our masked hero gets why she is so frightened, even if this is just a clone. The monster in front of them is still technically the absolute ruler of all demons. Bale glares down with a terrifying stare. He finally speaks, asking if this human realizes he does not belong here. Sang-Huk's fearless attitude catches him off guard. The guy casually replies that all he knows is he came to the exact right spot. Feeling deeply insulted, the demon lord stands up, warning that the player's arrogance will be his downfall. Bale promises him eternal rest. But as Sang-Huk readies his weapon, he mocks the boss, saying he talks way too loud for a cheap copy. Without hesitating, he charges ahead, completely catching the demon off guard. Our hero declares that he is the one bringing eternal rest today, and he is taking that chaos chest, too. Sang-Huk reaches into his dimensional pocket, pulling out the massive typhoon axe to strike, but the fake Bale blocks the heavy blow, instantly counterattacking by firing deadly laser beams directly from his eyes. The blast shatters the surroundings, but Sang-Huk easily dodges. Suddenly, Bale blurs with incredible speed, landing a heavy, unexpected blow. The impact sends our main character flying, but he digs his boots in to slide to a halt. Finally, he has an opponent worthy of his time. Reaching back into his pocket, he equips Zephyr's sacred bow, letting loose a volley of glowing energy arrows while the demon lord stands his ground. Now pay close attention here. The arrows explode all around, but Bale charges straight through the smoke. Their weapons clash with insane force, but Sang-Huk refuses to be intimidated by this monster. Bale unleashes another blast, which Sang-Huk barely manages to block as raw energy ripples outward. Watching from a safe distance, Lilith is completely awestruck. The clash continues, but like most chaotic boss monsters, Bale has no predictable attack pattern. Normally, knowing a boss's phases allows for perfect counterattacks. But without that luxury, his only option is to rely on his insane reflexes, battle experience, and adapt to the demon's deadly abilities on the fly. But sometimes, a complex strategy is not even necessary. Bale swings down to prove his absolute authority, only to freeze when his blade passes through empty air. He hit an afterimage. Sang-Huk appears right behind him, declaring that this is the perfect moment to overwhelm him with brute force. Bale spins around to strike, but our hero is way too fast, activating his dimensional step skill. Once again, the demon lord swings at nothing. Confused, he frantically looks around for his target, only for Sang-Huk to materialize from another blind spot, landing a devastating, clean strike. It is embarrassing. At this point, the mighty demon lord is doing nothing but swinging at thin air. Sang-Huk openly mocks him, asking how he still has not figured out the trick. Another heavy blow connects, forcing Bale to grit his teeth in frustration. But then, the clever devil spots something, or rather, someone. Glancing over at Lilith, he wears a wicked grin and changes his target. Sang-Huk initially thinks the coward is trying to flee, but quickly realizes his terrifying plan. He screams at the princess to run, because Bale is charging straight toward her with a monstrous, evil grin. Her eyes go wide as she freezes in sheer terror. It is too late. Sang-Huk lunges forward, but he cannot make it in time. Bale strikes, and Lilith collapses right into our hero's arms, badly wounded. Sang-Huk desperately begs her to wake up, but she is completely unresponsive. Glancing around, the cowardly boss is nowhere to be found. Enraged, he screams into the empty hall, demanding to know where the monster went. Wasting no time, he opens his dimensional pocket and pulls out a glowing resurrection potion. Sang-Huk gently presses it to Lilith's lips, hoping this will be enough to bring her back. Suddenly, he senses a deadly presence. The demon lord drops down from above to finish them. Sang-Huk immediately throws his own body over Lilith, acting as a human shield to protect her. But the sudden impact knocks the potion away, spilling the precious life-saving liquid across the cold stone floor. To make matters worse, a horde of monsters emerges from the shadows, completely surrounding them. Dozens of hideous beasts close in, wearing creepy, twisted smiles that make even Sang-Huk tense up. From above, the demon lord laughs, mocking our hero and declaring that the final outcome has already been decided. The demon mocks him, saying his death was caused by his own foolish pride. Absolutely furious, Sang-huk grits his teeth, declaring that he is going to end this bastard. His eyes lock onto his only target, but the smaller demons throw themselves forward, blocking his path. As our hero grows increasingly annoyed, Bale watches with absolute satisfaction, gloating over his superior power. Then, the swarm attacks. Sang-huk has to clear out these annoying pests first. A creature tries to leap at him from behind, but the masked king spins and cuts it in half, showing absolutely zero mercy. I know what you were thinking. Is he going to get overwhelmed? Not a chance. He unleashes his absolute fury, clearing a path through the horde with his blade, slicing the first creature down instantly. Scanning the room, he identifies the next target and swings his sword. With a swift, spinning slash, he blasts back the surrounding group, completely carving his way through the remaining beasts. Finally, our hero lets out a tired sigh, but the trial is far from over. Behind him, an even larger group of monsters begins to spawn, which is seriously starting to annoy him. With a smug smile, Bale asks if he did not warn him about this inevitable outcome. He orders the charge, sending the beasts rushing forward. Sang-huk grips his sword tightly, bracing for the impact. But then, out of nowhere, glowing orbs of light begin to float all around him, leaving him completely puzzled. Even the monsters halt their charge, staring at the strange lights in total confusion. Despite looking beautiful, these lights are absolutely lethal. The demons suddenly begin to scream in agony as their very bodies get violently sucked directly into the glowing orbs. A streak of light zips right past them, heading straight for Sang-huk. The masked warrior does not even flinch, moving at blinding speeds. The light flashes past him and crashes into the floor. He turns around, his eyes wide with shock. As the heavy smoke slowly clears, a figure is revealed. A familiar voice speaks up, saying she finally found her true self, before teasingly asking how she looks. Now fully grown into her gorgeous adult form, Lilith asks him if she is pretty. The life energy of the monsters has been completely drained, leaving a bewildered Bale staring at his fallen army. Either way, the scales have tipped. Lilith flashes a mischievous smile, while Bale finally realizes he is at a massive disadvantage. Screaming that they will pay for this, he prepares to make his move as Sang-huk watches closely. But what the coward does next infuriates our hero. Bale simply vanishes from the battlefield entirely. While Sang-huk searches the area, the demon lord is already far away, absolutely seething with rage. He was so close to destroying the masked warrior, never expecting the Night Witch to awaken at that exact moment. Realizing his plans are ruined, Bale decides he must wait for a better chance to strike. But out of nowhere, Lilith appears behind him, asking if he was talking about her. Completely terrified, the demon lord freezes as she teasingly asks if the cat got his tongue, making it clear he cannot escape. Bale glances around, desperately searching for her partner. He sneers, asking if she really dares to face him alone, reminding her that even with his plans disrupted, he is still the mighty demon king. He boasts that a mere witch can never defeat him, but even after landing a direct blow, he is left completely shocked. Lilith suddenly materializes right behind him, calling him a pathetic liar. She tells him he is no king. Desperate, Bale begs her to stop and talk, but she responds with a devastating energy blast that sends him crashing. Trust me, you and I are going to love seeing what happens next. Alright. You and I are about to see this faker exposed as his face shifts. Sang-huk arrives, guessing this guy owns the castle, though he admits he has never actually cleaned the place enough to recognize him. Curious about the reward, they watch as the monster vanishes, leaving behind a chaos chest. Sang-huk looks deeply unimpressed, muttering that this dungeon definitely did not live up to the hype. Either way, Lilith steps up to open it, secretly wishing for a pretty bracelet. But Sang-huk immediately cuts her off, announcing that it is finally time to make her decision. Completely lost, she listens as he brings up their contract terms. After all, he promised her the choice to either renew or cancel their deal once she officially became an adult. Though clearly concerned, Sang-huk warns her to choose wisely since there is no going back. He offers to give her some space, but before he can leave, the shy Night Witch calls out to him. She admits that before awakening, she just saw him as an incredibly powerful figure. Now, she is absolutely certain he is someone she could never hope to defeat. Sang-huk pauses to find his words. He reassures her that he has no intention of hurting her, earning a playful reply from the queen. Either way, her mind is made up. She asks if leaving him makes her a target, but she knows that if she stays and fights endless waves of enemies, she will eventually fade away. That is not her goal. She genuinely wants to survive in this world for as long as possible. With zero hesitation, she asks if staying close to her master is the safest option. The question catches him off guard. Sang-huk smiles, admitting that she is absolutely right. Thrilled, Lilith adds one cute little condition. She asks if she can finally call him Papa. The request completely stuns him, but to her absolute delight, he actually agrees. Meanwhile, over in the frozen wastes, the squad has set up camp. Pay close attention, because right in the middle of a brutal blizzard, the blonde guild master spots a mysterious silhouette approaching. Sang-Huk has finally returned, bringing instant relief to the crew. Ian points out that he is running behind schedule, which Sang-Huk calmly confirms before being asked how the raid went. Keeping things brief, he says it went fine, but the blonde leader demands details. Sang-Huk reveals he cleared the castle, adding a harsh warning that they could never pull it off. Back in Seoul, Sang-min is fast asleep. His peaceful rest is suddenly interrupted when he is pulled elsewhere. Confused, he wonders if this is dimensional travel or just a crazy dream. A voice calls out, urging the Sunset Swordsman to wake up. Realizing he is no longer in his bedroom, a bewildered Sang-min looks up to see an adult Lilith standing there. He demands to know her identity, prompting Lilith to ask if he has already forgotten her. As recognition hits him, Butcher chimes in, complimenting his face since he has never seen him unmasked. Acknowledging the kid's confusion, the big guy explains that they also arrived here through a dream, promising details later. He then asks if Sang-min recognizes the object nearby, which feels strangely familiar. The behemoth reveals it is the Chest of Chaos. Instantly, Sang-min connects the dots. This is the exact castle his brother went to raid. Sang-Huk sent the masked mercenaries here to farm experience, knowing it was a prime hunting spot, which Butcher confirmed after spotting the Chest of Chaos left behind. Yet, Sunset wonders if the rival Emperor Guild will just stand by. Butcher tells him to relax since the masked boss promised to handle them, leaving the young swordsman even more perplexed. Back at the campsite, Ian demands an explanation on why they cannot clear the dungeon. Sang-Huk offers to share the strategy but warns it will be completely useless to them. You might be thinking what I did. Is he backing out? Well, Ian accuses him of trying to dodge their deal, but our masked main character tells him to listen closely. Sang-Huk explains that entering requires immense mental strength, a stat none of them have actually reached. Ian proposes using high-tier gear to boost it, but the masked expert questions if they even own any. The blonde leader tries to leverage one from him, but the monarch warns that such rare items are nearly impossible to find, dryly asking why he should hand his over. He points out that even stepping inside is only the start, questioning if Ian truly believes he can survive. Frustrated, Ian tries to argue back. Suddenly, a ring on the guild master's finger catches his attention, putting Sang-Huk on high alert. Declaring his work complete, he asks Anton to drive him to a hotel. This leaves a bitter taste in Ian's mouth. Soon, Anton is driving Sang-Huk away. Noticing his pale face, the masked warrior asks if something is wrong, though the vice leader claims he is perfectly fine. Reading him like an open book, Sang-Huk pushes further. He gets straight to the point, demanding to know why Ian was wearing that returned ring. Anton tries to deflect, but Sang-Huk cuts through the lies, well aware of Ian's bottomless greed. He delivers a cold warning. That ring never belonged to Ian. It actually belonged to his family. This revelation deeply rattles the vice master as they reach the hotel. Late into the night, Anton sits awake, lost in heavy thought. Staring at a photograph of his wife and son, his face hardens with determination. Having resolved to quit the Emperor Guild, he delivers the news to his leader. Ian tries to argue, but Anton cuts him off, demanding the return of his wife's ring. This outright defiance absolutely infuriates the arrogant guild master. Ian claims it is all a misunderstanding, accusing him of making it sound like theft. He argues it is just business, claiming a master must grow stronger to elevate the entire guild, but Anton is not buying any of it. He asks if that excuse justifies stealing gear from his own members. Snapping, the Emperor Guild Master stands up and violently grabs Anton by the collar. Ian threatens to end his life right then and there, but Anton stubbornly demands the ring back once more, pushing his boss past the limit. With a brutal punch, Ian sends him flying across the room. Deciding to silence him permanently, Ian draws a blade, claiming this sacrifice is strictly for the good of the guild. Smirking, the tyrant asks if he truly failed to see this coming. Anton spits back that he simply never expected him to be such a massive scumbag. Enraged, Ian lunges, but the door is suddenly blown wide open. Sang-Huk steps in, telling him to cool it, before casually echoing the insult. This sudden arrival of the masked powerhouse catches everyone off guard. Sang-Huk asks the vice master how long he plans on lying around, ordering him to stand up. Anton obeys, ignoring Ian's murderous glare as he walks right past him. Ian's heart burns with absolute hatred. He warns the masked warrior that some lines are never meant to be crossed, telling him to back off from internal guild affairs. But Sang Huk counters that it absolutely involves him, dryly noting he never gave him permission to keep that ring. Sang Huk slowly approaches the trembling master, reciting his name and title. He asks Ian if he has completely lost his mind, utterly terrifying the blonde. Sang Huk then boldly decrees that Anton is now the new master. As Ian sputters in shock, Anton tries to refuse the title, but the monarch delivers a final, chilling ultimatum. If he ever catches Ian around here again, the entire guild will be wiped out. He challenges anyone to speak up if they disagree. Trust me, you and I both know the coward won't dare to fight our masked powerhouse. Meanwhile, inside the monarch's castle, a man named Lee Hugok, director of the Player Management Bureau, strides down the hall. Lilith politely asks him to wait inside, noting the master will arrive shortly. All right, you and I are about to step right into the room where the masked monarch lives. The golden double doors slide open, and Hugsuk stands frozen in sheer awe. Sang Hukok suddenly appears right behind him, startling the director by saying it's been a long time. After a polite greeting, Lilith excuses herself to give them some privacy, telling him to call if needed. Hukok then gestures for the man to take a seat. Cutting straight to the chase, the monarch asks what brought him all this way. The director doesn't waste time, revealing he knows about his plans for the land out front. The masked leader points out that the price was already settled, but Huk explains the catch. In exchange for Seoul's land, the government wants him to fight in specific countries of their choosing, while also investing heavily in the new city district he's building. The masked monarch coldly asks whose orders these are, leaving the director confused. To be crystal clear, he demands to know who sent him. Hukok hesitates for a second but admits he was sent directly by the Blue House. Sang Hukok demands to know the real motive here. He asks how many years are left in the president's term, only to find out it's just over 1 year. The realization hits the director hard. It looks like the president is just trying to use the masked leader's fame to secure one final, massive political achievement before his time is up. Huksuk insists his loyalties lie with the actual players. Sang Huk addresses the director directly, asking if he was once a player himself. The man admits it, confessing his rank was low and his skills were awful. Sang Huk asks if it's frustrating working under government suits who don't understand a single thing about Eternal World. After a brief pause, the director agrees. The masked monarch pushes further, asking if the Bureau's only goal is to control and look down on the players. Huk looks completely embarrassed by the truth. He admits he hates it, but says it's out of his hands. Now, pay attention here, Sang Huk seizes the moment, asking if he changed things if he actually had the power. He directly asks if the director would do a better job. A stunned Huk says he has no idea how that's even possible. Sang Huk says it might be hard for others, but for him, the solution is incredibly simple. He reveals his plan to privatize the entire player management department, leaving Huk utterly speechless. But in exchange, the masked monarch demands a promise that he won't act like those greedy bosses. Huk bows his head, answering in a low, intense voice. Growing more confident, he says he'll absolutely do it if the masked leader is willing to give him this one shot. Cutting over to the Blue House, a sleek black sedan pulls up. The doors open and Sang Huk steps out in a sharp suit. Looking dead serious and highly confident, he leads his entourage inside. He steps inside. The masked monarch gets a grand, warm welcome from the highest office. The president of South Korea smiles, expressing his genuine pleasure at finally meeting the legendary player face to face. Seated together, Yang Minho thanks him for coming despite his incredibly packed schedule. Laughing it off, he playfully asks if he can just call him Monarch from now on. Sang Huk holds no personal grudge, and even voted for this guy. But the stories he heard upon returning to the real world were beyond disappointing, leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. The president hid in secure bunkers while normal citizens were slaughtered by monsters. Instead of fixing this national crisis, he is desperately trying to rewrite the constitution just to secure a second term. Minho praises how he elevated the country's reputation, claiming everyone is incredibly grateful. But the masked hero cuts him off instantly, demanding they get straight to the point of this meeting. An aide warns the young man to watch his tone, but the president waves it off, letting the guests speak freely while suggesting they drop the formalities. Then, the foreign minister steps up to introduce himself. Jang Hate asks if he really plans on building a district in front of the castle. The monarch confirms it. The minister nods, stating the Korean government will permit this under a few strict conditions. Suddenly, a chilling sound breaks the silence. He looks over to see Sang Huk, radiating a terrifying, dark aura. You and I both know the monarch doesn't take orders. He coldly tells them he's not asking for permission, but simply informing them of his plans. This instantly angers a mustachioed man, the National Party leader. Han Jio complains about the young man's lack of respect, arguing he should show proper manners to his elders. But Sang-Huk completely ignores his whining. The monarch warns him that not just anyone can speak freely in this room, telling him to ask for permission next time. The party leader is furious at the disrespect, but the president quickly steps in to stop him. The politician tries to argue, but Minho snaps and tells him to shut his mouth. Swallowing his pride, the man backs down. Minho apologizes for the interruption and asks the monarch to go on. Sang-Huk keeps his message simple. If the government continues making these ridiculous demands, the masked mercenaries will pack up and leave South Korea. Murmurs of panic instantly spread across the room. The elite ministers refuse to be treated with such utter disregard, especially by some player threatening to abandon them. Sang-Huk's response is simple. He slowly stands up from his chair. He declares they have nothing left to discuss and turns to leave. Hong screams at him to sit back down, while another official points out that the entire nation is watching them right now. Minho chimes in, pleading that the citizens are watching them struggle for safety and national survival. The president begs him for support, asking him to do it for the innocent citizens of the country, if not for them. But Sang-Huk flat out refuses, refusing to be a prop in their cheap political games. He asks the president if he knows the phrase Hell Korea, noting a new popular slogan, Escape Korea. The monarch asks how it feels to hear that, questioning if he still thinks he's doing a good job. Jung is absolutely outraged by his sheer audacity. Sang-Huk drops a truth bomb. Only 30% of Eternal World has materialized so far, meaning far more terrifying. Lethal monsters are heading their way. As the president pales in absolute terror, Sang-Huk points out they should be supporting lower-level players. Instead, the administration is hiking their taxes and taking bribes under the table for exclusive hunting ground rights. He demands to know if that seems acceptable to them. The words hit the president like a physical blow. Stammering, Minho claims he understands and promises to discuss this with his cabinet, but Sang-Huk drops his final demand, dissolve the player management department completely. Minho stares back, unable to believe what he's hearing. The monarch reminds him that he wanted help for the citizens, and that's exactly what he's delivering. Meanwhile, in a quiet office in Los Angeles, a lone woman reads the shocking headlines about the masked mercenaries taking a sudden, unexpected hiatus. She notes that every member vanished right after clearing the chaotic castle. Deep in thought, she wonders if they managed to secure the legendary chest. Meanwhile, Mount Jury sits silent, consumed by thick, eerie fog. A lone traveler struggles through the creepy, dense forest. Exhausted, he lets out a heavy breath, straining his eyes through the gloom to find his path. With the fog blindingly thick, he regrets not staying home. He can't forage for rare herbs if he can't see past his nose. But suddenly, a strange sensation washes over him as the heavy mist completely vanishes into thin air. A massive structure catches his eye, freezing him in his tracks. He stares in utter disbelief, unable to comprehend the massive, impossible sight looming right before him. The news reports a highly confidential, closed-door meeting held at the Blue House with the masked monarch and President Yang Minho. Watching this, Sang-Huk mutters that Korea only excels at useless political theater. Suddenly, his phone rings with an incoming call from Butcher. Answering it, the monarch asks for an update on the Castle of Chaos. The giant hunter boasts they just took down rank 61. Sang-Huk asks if they can actually clear the whole place. Butcher is confident they can pull it off if the guild works together. But the monarch warns him to stay alert, because things get way deadlier as more high-ranking demon lords appear. Let's see if they survive. You and I are jumping right back into the action, starting with an unexpected call. One look at the screen and he freezes. It is a rare caller. He is instantly curious about what So-Chan wants from him. Meanwhile, back at the masked monarch's castle, Sang-Huk spots the group lingering outside the lab. Chol-Woo steps up, mentioning rumors of a meeting with the president. The monarch confirms it, but the blacksmith complains that he is always playing solo. He heard about the government deal trading access for the player management department, but our masked hero tells him there is absolutely nothing to worry about. Sang-Huk explains they only have to clear dungeons designated by the administration every quarter. He shrugs it off, shifting the focus to ask what they really came for, knowing there is a hidden agenda. So Chan drops a bombshell, suggesting they should split up for now. This catches the monarch completely off guard, and the hooded warrior turns back, waiting for his teammates to speak. Ultimately, their low levels hold them back from using high-tier gear. Currently, Andre is only level 41, Michael is 58, Anna is 63, and poor Dena is stuck down at level 35. Sang-Huk understands their plight. Since they desperately need extra experience points, so Chan asks for a succubus or an incubus, leaving the monarch highly confused by their request. The hooded robe explains that a tattoo artist recommended succubi for mob kiting. Sang-Huk laughs, calling her the only crazy soul to ever try that. Still, He wishes them luck and reminds them to stock potions. Over at the player management headquarters, an intern reports a massive new dungeon appearing early this morning. The chief in glasses demands the location, completely losing his mind when he hears it is Mount Jerry. Wasting no time, he rushes to verify the data himself. He pushes up his glasses, staring in utter disbelief at the monitor. In the image, he immediately recognizes the legendary Steel Mountain Range. Their frantic chatter draws a crowd. An older agent explains to a confused coworker that this legendary dungeon has not been seen since year 5. He explains that this zone produces almost all the god-tier gear in Eternal World. This revelation terrifies his colleague, but with a wild grin, the veteran promises that things are about to get absolutely chaotic. Meanwhile, the international airport is packed as global rankers land. Manhwa walks through the gates, Michael closely follows, and Richard appears right behind them with his signature, sour scowl on his face. Listen closely, because a diplomatic nightmare is brewing. Foreign nations are calling non-stop, demanding that Korea open up access to this legendary mountain range immediately. The aides ask how to proceed as the chief of staff sweats bullets. Minho paces in his office, while the president stands with his arms crossed, his face filled with deep anxiety. Running out of options, the president dials a direct line to the masked monarch. Alone in his dark room, Sang-Huk carefully reviews an official government document. It is a presidential decree granting him total authority over the Steel Mountain Range. This legendary zone is famous for 2 things. First, it requires a massive, multi-group raid. Specifically, 5 groups of 10 high-level players must coordinate perfectly. The second reason is the terrifying bosses roaming inside, metal golems known as the Black, Red, and White Knights. These monsters are forged from minerals tougher than steel like adamantium, radium, and mithril. They are literal treasure chests of god-tier loot. Sang-Huk looks at his guests and asks if they are ready. An emergency summit of top guild masters convenes inside the castle walls. Manuel scoffs, asking if he thinks they showed up empty-handed, while Richard smugly boasts that they can handle anything. Only Michael remains completely silent. Sang-Huk chuckles at their hollow confidence, warning them that this place is nothing like their usual runs. A single mistake here does not just mean failing the raid, it means a total party wipe. Michael snaps, telling him to stop lecturing. You can feel the tension skyrocket as Michael sneeringly asks if Sang-Huk wants this territory entirely for himself. The masked monarch glares back, finding the blonde ranker's sheer audacity hilarious. He points out how the United Kingdom monopolized the Mana Stone mines, so why can't Korea do the exact same? Our MC tells him he is completely missing the point. Exerting absolute dominance, he declares that from this second, every single British player is banned from entering the area. Michael gasps, completely blindsided. The masked monarch means business, cold-bloodedly ordering the arrogant foreigner to leave the country immediately. Michael finally realizes this is not a drill. The crushing pressure is overwhelming, but his bruised ego forces him to stand up. Michael storms out, slamming the door behind him. Sang-Huk turns to the remaining masters, leaving them with a chilling warning to choose their next words carefully. He reminds them to value their lives before resuming the session. Shortly after, Sang-Huk arrives deep within the foggy forest where the dungeon sleeps. Only his dark silhouette is visible through the thick, swirling mist. He glides effortlessly through the dense woods until he spots his destination. The dungeon portal awaits, and solo entry is impossible. Suddenly, a voice behind him calls out that everyone is ready. Richard steps forward, announcing it is time. The monarch issues a sharp warning to the knight not to run off with the borrowed high-tier weapons, but Richard just laughs it off. Sang-Huk warns them not to get greedy, reminding them they are only clearing up to the Black Knight zone. Drawing their weapons, the raid party marches into the oppressive mist, tension clearly visible on their faces. The top rankers take the vanguard, but even they freeze at the sight ahead. Finally, they reach the heart of the Steel Mountain Range, where a massive shadow looms. Sang-Huk commands everyone to brace themselves as the Black Knight's eyes glow with murderous intent. In a flash, the monster swings, scattering players like bowling pins. Sang-Huk doesn't just stand there. He grips his legendary battle hammer, Brocky, smashing it directly into the boss's massive shield. The giant stands firm and swings back. He delivers another heavy blow, visibly angering the colossal golem. The beast raises its massive double-pronged spear, thrusting it at our hero, who quickly commands his team to fall back. Leaping high, he dodges effortlessly. The spear embeds in the earth, triggering violent shockwaves that blast multiple players away. The explosions chase Sang-Huk, but he uses dimensional steps to teleport clear. Mid-air, Sang-Huk aims his devastating hammer. The Black Knight can only watch as the crushing strike lands directly on its chest, leaving massive, glowing fractures across its metal body. Ready for round 2, He hammers the beast again with incredible force. The impact sends the massive golem staggering backward, and Sang-huk leaps up to finish the job. He doesn't even need his ultimate skill because the raw power of Braki is enough. The Black Knight shatters into millions of fragments, ending the first golem. The other guild masters are completely speechless. Richard stands frozen in awe as the entire raid group stares in absolute silence. Suddenly, a notification catches Sang-huk's attention. A system window pops up, awarding him 1,200 experience points. This quick skirmish was incredibly satisfying, but the ground shakes again. Two more golems emerge, putting a huge grin on his face. And that's how Sang-huk claims this zone. Trust me, you and I are in for a wild ride next time, so hit like. See you guys.